Chapter 146. Inside the Iron Tower, the atmosphere was tense to the extreme. Yi Qinghan slowly put away the Enlightenment Godly Lotus. He was afraid that if he moved too quickly, it would cause the divine Guqin to fluctuate and hurt Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi was even more nervous. He stared at Yi Qinghan, afraid that this would be the last time he saw him. The aura of the great Tao in the Iron Tower gradually disappeared. Yi Qinghan put the Enlightenment Godly Lotus into his yin and yang ring, and stared at Emperor Ye's eyes. Emperor Ye's eyes gradually dimmed. As expected, the divine Guqin's shadow slowly sealed Emperor Ye's eyes. Darkness once again descended on Emperor Ye's eyes. "Sigh, what a pity. Such beautiful eyes," the parrot said with sincere regret. Emperor Yi smiled, but his smile was more heartbreaking than crying. He pretended to be strong and said, "It's okay. The divine Guqin's seal will be broken sooner or later. You don't have to worry." Yi Qinghan shook his head and held Emperor Ye's hand. He could feel her panic and helplessness. He couldn't help but sigh. This seal wouldn't be so easy to break. The two of them went down the Iron Tower. Jian'eo was very excited. He couldn't wait to get 1,000,000 mid-grade and low-grade spirit crystals. In his eyes, the refining divine furnace and enlightenment godly lotus were useless. However, 5,000,000 low-grade spirit crystals was a huge sum. 1,000,000 mid-grade spirit crystals was an incalculable amount of wealth. It could help the Sky Sword sect soar into the sky and become a third-grade or even fourth-grade sect. "Qinghan, those spirit crystals?" Jian'eo rubbed his palms and asked with a smile. "How the spirit crystals are distributed is your Sky Sword sect's matter. I won't interfere." Yi Qinghan casually threw out 6 yin and yang rings. They were all filled with spirit crystals. "Quick, take a look. Is the number right?" Everyone took the yin and yang rings and their eyes widened. They had never seen such good spirit crystals in their lives. Even low-grade spirit crystals were 10 times better than the spirit crystals they had in reserve, not to mention mid-grade spirit crystals. Seeing the countless spiritual crystals, the great Supreme Elder was in a good mood. He no longer cared about the Enlightenment Lotus and his mission. Yi Qinghan coldly led Emperor Yi and Taiwa to the martial arts practice field. The disciples were still waiting with excited expressions, hoping to receive some guidance from Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan was not interested in giving them pointers. Instead, he dripped a drop of blood essence into the smelting divine furnace. The smelting divine furnace immediately shrank and entered Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. The smelting divine furnace's effects were fully revealed. It was indeed at the middle of the 5th grade. It could be used to refine pills and weapons. It could definitely be considered a treasure. After Yi Qinghan finished tidying up his affairs, he lifted his head to look at the training grounds. His gaze swept across the area and landed on Lin Hong. In a low voice he asked, "What's your name?" "Junior brother Lin Hong greets senior brother." Lin Hong cupped his fists excitedly. "I'm not your senior brother." Yi Qinghan frowned and said coldly. Lin Hong stood there awkwardly, not knowing what to do. Jian'eo and the others also rushed back to the training grounds and saw everything. They did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so cold, insisting on drawing a clear line with the Sky Sword sect. They could not help but smile bitterly. "I want to establish a sect. Lin Hong, are you interested in joining? Be the eldest senior brother, and help me manage it," Yi Qinghan said. Lin Hong's eyes lit up. Yi Qinghan wanted to establish a sect. It would probably be a 3rd-grade sect at the very least. It might even be a 4th-grade sect. Moreover, Yi Qinghan had always been his idol. Even if Yi Qinghan did not admit that he was a member of the Sky Sword sect, if something happened to the Sky Sword sect, Yi Qinghan would definitely help. Therefore, if he followed Yi Qinghan, it would not be considered betraying the Sky Sword sect. However, Lin Hong still looked at his master Jian'eo. After all, he was the head disciple of the Sky Sword sect. "Jian'eo, sell your disciple to me. You pay the price." Jian'eo and the others. "Fuck, how rich is he? Buying the smelting divine furnace and enlightenment lotus is one thing. But now he wants to buy his own disciple? How willful is he?" The elders of the Sky Sword sect and the Peak Master were speechless. Even Wang Shufei felt that Yi Qinghan was a little willful. He had too much money, so he had nothing to do with it. What they didn't know was that Yi Qinghan was also the one who had bought Ren Huangyi. Yi Qinghan's actions also exposed his mentality. In this world, there was nothing that spirit crystals could not solve. 100,000 low-grade spirit crystals? Jian'eo was going all out for spirit crystals. Since Yi Qinghan wanted to buy, then he would sell. However, he was afraid that he would anger Yi Qinghan by opening his mouth too much. Hence, he called out 100,000 low-grade spirit crystals. 100,000 low-grade spirit crystals. For Jian'eo, if he did not have the 5 million low-grade spirit crystals and 1 million mid-grade spirit crystals, it would be a huge sum. It was enough to buy the Sky Sword sect. Hence, even he felt that the price was high. However, for Yi Qinghan, this price was too high. Lin Hong had never seen so many spirit crystals before, and thought that Jian'eo valued him very much, which was why he had offered such a high price. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, thought that Jian'eo didn't recognize talent and didn't appreciate it. That was why he had offered such a high price. Yi Qinghan was too lazy to say more. He casually threw out a universe ring. In the future, you are no longer a member of the Sky Sword sect. You are mine. Your heart must be on my side, understand? Yi Qinghan looked at Lin Hong and said in a deep voice, "Yes, then how should I address you?" Lin Hong smiled bitterly. If he could not call him senior brother, then should he call him master? You can be considered half of my unofficial disciple. If I am not satisfied with your performance, I can kick you out of the sect at any time. Yi Qinghan was extremely cold. He threw down 1 million low-grade spirit crystals to buy Lin Hong. If he was not satisfied, then he would kick him out of the sect. How rich and willful was he? Good grandson, it is not easy for you to come back. Why don't you have a good chat with your grandfather? How is your mother? How is Mengxi? Wang Shufei smiled embarrassedly. He seemed to be concerned about Wang Shi and Yi Mengxi. However, he was telling everyone that regardless of whether Yi Qinghan was a member of the Sky Sword sect, he was still his grandson. This relationship could not be denied. Everything is fine. Chen Xue is also fine. No need to worry. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and looked at Yi Shixia. He took out another universe ring and said coldly, "There are 1 million low-grade spirit crystals in this ring. Take it as my purchase of Jian Chen Xue." Yi Shixia took the universe ring. Wang Shufei looked at Yi Qinghan with drooling eyes. He wanted to snatch a few universe rings. He wanted some spirit crystals, but he felt embarrassed. After all, the person in front of him was his own blood, his own grandson. Yi Qinghan smiled. He did not have much feelings for this cheap grandfather. However, he was Mengxi's grandfather after all. He could not treat him badly. Moreover, he did not lack low-grade spirit crystals. Last time, he had obtained more than 100 million low-grade spirit crystals from the spirit crystal mine in the Demon Valley continent. Therefore, he threw out another 2 universe rings. Wang Shufei took the universe rings and checked them with his divine sense. He was immediately overjoyed. He quickly put away the universe rings and laughed. How can I let my grandson spend so much money? Yi Qinghan sneered in his heart, but he still nodded on the surface. Only then did the crowd realize how capricious Yi Qinghan was. He spent 2 million low-grade spirit crystals to buy 2 people. Many disciples' eyes lit up. They thought to themselves, if only my idol bought me, even 100 low-grade spirit crystals would be good. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan was not interested in them. He waved his hand, and the god-slaying eagle appeared on the training field. The pressure of a Fate Palace-level beast enveloped the Sky Sword sect. The Great Elder and others were so shocked that they took a few steps back. Many people were so scared that they wet their pants. Back to Lulan. He did not give them any chance to speak. He poured out his vital essence and wrapped them up. They flew up to the sky and disappeared in the sky above the Sky Sword sect. Lin Hong stood on the eagle's back. His blood was boiling, and he wished he could spread his wings and fly. He looked at Yi Qinghan's strong back with his black hair fluttering in the wind. His eyes were full of awe. The Fate Palace-level god-slaying eagle was very fast. It could fly more than 3,000 miles in 2 hours. In half a day, it was out of the sphere of influence of the kingdom of Qingyang. After flying for several days, It finally arrived at the sphere of influence of Lulan. Xianyuan Chunshao and the others spent almost all their wealth to buy countless spiritual medicines and treasures to replenish their vital essence and blood. They also bought all the materials for the Tao Master Supreme pellet. They waited quietly for Yi Qinghan's return. How long has Brother Yi Qinghan been away from Lulan? Xianyuan Chunshao counted the days with his fingers. He could not wait for Yi Qinghan to come back. He'll be back soon. It's been half a month. Lu Guyan was anxious and excited. He was the closest to the end of his life. He only had 1 or 2 years left. Yi Kongqun was fine. After all, he still had 10 years left. He had a better chance than Xianyuan Chunshao and Lu Guyun. Swish! A figure covered the sky and the sun. The eagle's wings covered the sun. The whole imperial capital was in darkness. Screech! A strong sound penetrated the sky and the earth. It was deafening. Haha, Brother Yi is back. The three of them flew to the sky and went out to welcome him personally. The wind and clouds between heaven and earth suddenly changed. The Milky Way rolled backward and the sky fluctuated. The god-slaying eagle descended and swiftly returned to Yi Qinghan's azure dragon arm. Yi Qinghan's aura was overwhelming. He looked at the three of them calmly and asked, "Your vitality is recovering well. Have you bought all the materials?" "Yes, we have. We've bought all of them. We're just waiting for you to make a move," the three of them said in unison. "Well, give me the materials." Reaching out to take the materials, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice, "I'll make some pills in the next few days. You spread the news that the three of you will establish a sect together. The name of the sect is Crazy Sect. We're recruiting disciples. There are 3 tests in total. Anyone who passes any of the tests can join the Crazy Sect." "Ah, you want to establish a sect?" the three of them asked in surprise. "It's not me. It's you. The 3 of you are the Grand Elders. The sect leader has not been decided yet. The chief disciple is Lin Hong. The eldest senior sister is Emperor Yi. There are 3 tests. The first test is willpower. You must have a strong willpower. You must be able to stay awake for half an hour under Emperor Ye's Guqin, and not kneel under the pressure of the god-slaying eagle. For the second test, you must be at least a 4th grade talent. For the third test, you must satisfy all 3 of you." Yi Qinghan was ready to be a hands-off boss. He handed over all the messy matters to the 3 of them, while he cultivated in peace. The 3 of them looked at each other. The 3 tests that Yi Qinghan mentioned seemed simple. As long as one passed any of the tests, they could enter the Crazy Sect. In fact, it was extremely strict. There were probably only a few people who could pass the test on the entire Alfal planet. "My son, cooperate with them. Remember, don't be soft-hearted. I want people with strong willpower," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Emperor Yi nodded. He pointed to the parrot and said, "Leave the parrot to me. With it, I don't have to worry about others getting close to me." Yi Qinghan coldly warned the parrot, causing its feathers to stand on end. It immediately jumped onto Emperor Ye's shoulder and swore solemnly that it wouldn't let Emperor Yi lose a single strand of hair. Chapter 147. A storm was brewing on Alfal planet. The 3 Fate Palace powerhouses suddenly announced the establishment of the Insane School, and were recruiting disciples. Anyone who passed any of the 3 tests would be able to join the Insane School. The test was very fair, from the commoners to the nobles. There was no distinction between nobles and nobles. The commoners who wanted to cultivate were excited. In the past, they wanted to cultivate, but ordinary sects would not accept them. If one wanted to cultivate, they had to first pave the way with money. Without money, it was useless. Now, the Insane Sect was a sect jointly built by the 3 Fate Palaces. It was bound to be a top 4th grade sect. Anyone who could join would soar to the sky. Willpower, talent, and smooth people. Empires, kingdoms, and families were all looking for talents. They offered money and effort, hoping that a disciple of the Insane Sect would appear in their forces. As long as the commoners reported that they wanted to participate in the Insane Sect's test, the governor's office would pay for their travel and meals. If they passed the test, they should still be grateful. As the saying went, when one person ascended, all the chickens and dogs would follow. The city was glorious. Geniuses came from all directions. Powerful families even sent thousands of disciples. hoping that one of them could join the insane sect. Father, I will work hard and join the insane sect. On the bumpy mountain road, a child of 6 or 7 years old said seriously to a middle-aged man. Good. As long as you can join the insane sect, your ancestors won't have to be hunters in the future. They won't have to struggle. The middle-aged man was covered in scars. It seemed that he had experienced countless battles and had an unusually strong mind. There were hundreds of people like this on almost every road. They helped each other and rushed to the capital of the Lulan Empire. In a small town in Qingzhou, there was an ordinary family of 5. They had enough to eat and wear, but they worked hard day and night. The parents were filial to the elders and doted on the younger generation. The children were sensible. They were a harmonious family that everyone in the town envied. Lin Wutian, 12 years old, was the youngest child in the family. He was almost obsessed with cultivation. Every day, he would practice with the wooden sword he carved. Sometimes, he would stand for a whole day with the wooden sword in his arms. He looked a little silly and was laughed at by his peers in the town. They thought that he was daydreaming about becoming a master who could fly. At this moment, Lin Wutian stood under an old tree, holding the sword with both hands. He was motionless. His handsome face was full of determination. His black hair swayed in the wind, and his simple hemp clothes fluttered. He looked very lively. Lin Wutian, you idiot, you still want to cultivate? Can your lousy sword cut through my fist? A sturdy young man and 7 or 8 other children surrounded Lin Wutian. They saw Lin Wutian holding his sword and repeating the same action. Although Lin Wutian's face was young and tender, he looked resolute and serious at the moment. He didn't care about what others were saying. He had almost integrated his heart into the wooden sword. Every thrust of his sword could drive the spiritual energy in the air, and even a wisp of sword intent. However, he hadn't opened his qi and didn't know how to open it. Therefore, he couldn't discover his own ability. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Lin Wutian brandished his wooden sword. His movements were as smooth as flowing water. His movements were light and elegant. He looked powerless, but in fact he was swift and fierce. What an idiot. I don't know if he can kill a rabbit with this lousy sword every day. Lin Xian and Lin Jiuchao were the leaders of the children in Lin Town. They had nothing to do all day, so they took pleasure in bullying Lin Wutian. However, Lin Wutian didn't want to have a conflict with them. Unless they angered him, he would glare at them with a pair of cold eyes. These people didn't dare to push him too far. Lin Wutian's glare was too scary. It was like a sharp sword that could pierce through people's souls. Lin Wutian, if you want to cultivate so much, why don't you participate in the crazy sect's disciple assessment? I heard that it's a 4th-ranked sect jointly established by 3 supreme masters. Moreover, it doesn't require any assessment fees. You can even apply for a travel fee to Lulan if you go to the Great Forest City's mayor's office. A young man in brocade clothes said with disdain. Lin Wutian's aura changed. He withdrew his sword and turned to look at the young man in brocade clothes. He was Lin Jiuchao, the mayor's son. He was very well informed. Ha ha ha, you don't really want to go, do you? I'm just teasing you, fool. The assessment of the crazy sect is very abnormal. I heard that 1 in 10,000 geniuses is very lucky. The first assessment is the willpower assessment. I heard that you have to face the coercion of a 4th-ranked Fate Palace demon beast, which can crush a supreme being of the bitter sea stage to death. With your strength, you'll probably wet your pants when you see the demon beast, right? Lin Jiuchao sneered. Hee hee. I also heard that the second assessment requires talents above 4th-ranked. My god, 4th-ranked means that you're the number 1 genius of Alphal Star. How is this an assessment? It's clearly torture. Lin Xian looked at Lin Wutian with disdain. He felt that Lin Wutian had absolutely no chance. Lin Wutian clenched his wooden sword, left the crowd, and went straight home. Father, I want to participate in the assessment of the crazy sect. Lin Wutian said firmly. Nonsense. It's fine if you play with your wooden sword, but now you have to go to a place tens of thousands of miles away to participate in the assessment. What if something happens to you on the way? Besides, you'll be 13 years old soon. It's time to learn how to support your family, get married, and have children. Don't daydream. Cultivation is a fleeting thing. How can ordinary people like us have a chance? Lin Wutian's father said in a deep voice. My ambition is to cultivate. Father, I'm unfilial. When I join the crazy sect, I'll come back in brocade clothes. I'm not a rich second generation, but I can be a rich first generation. I'm not a cultivator second generation, but I can be a first generation cultivator. Who says that ordinary families can't produce supreme cultivators? Lin Wutian rushed out of the house with his wooden sword, not giving his father a chance to speak. He rushed out of the town in a few flashes and disappeared at the end of the street. There were at least 20 teenagers like Lin Wutian. Some were supported by their parents, some were rebellious and went alone. They either soared to the sky or died miserably on the road. They didn't even reach the place of the assessment. Lu Outyin came out of seclusion. His breath became terrifying. At first glance, it was as if he could suck away the soul at any time. Even Lu Guyan and the others felt the pressure doubled when they looked at him. Looking at the countless people coming to the Imperial Square, some of them even set up camp outside the city. Some of them even slept directly on the road. They gritted their teeth and persevered in such a cold weather. Lu Outyin couldn't help but frown. There were too many people coming in at the same time. There were not enough inns for them to stay in. More than 90% of the people had to bring their own tents to stay outside. Half of them didn't even have a tent. Several of them had already frozen to death. Come pass my order. Take out the military tents reserved by the Empire and ask the Minister of Armaments to send some quilts. Don't let me know that someone has frozen to death in the city. Lu Outyan's order was quickly carried out. The Crown Prince's reputation of cherishing talents won the admiration of most people. They were full of reverence for him. In the future, Lu Outyan would also gain the loyalty of these people. The three experts sat cross-legged on the assessment platform. Emperor Yi sat with his zither, while the parrot squatted on Emperor Ye's shoulder. It attracted the attention of the crowd. They didn't know what kind of identity she had to be on equal footing with the three supreme experts. Xianyuan Chunxiao and the others were also respectful to her. The first assessment will be personally assessed by the chief female disciple of the insane sect, Emperor Yi. Anyone who can withstand 10% of her attack for half an hour will pass the assessment. If you can't pass the assessment, you can still participate in the second assessment. If you still can't pass the second assessment, the three of us will decide whether you can join the insane sect based on the comprehensive assessment. Lu Guyan slowly stood up. The aura of a supreme expert was full of vicissitudes and decay. The crowd didn't dare to make any noise. What? A little girl is going to assess us? She only used 10% of her power for half an hour. Ha ha ha, I'm sure I can pass this assessment. It seems that the insane sect is not very strict in accepting disciples. Everyone nodded one after another, especially some of the hedonistic disciples of the great clans and nobles. They didn't know what was good for them, and they looked at Emperor Yi with a covetous expression. They discovered that her eyes were closed the entire time, and her fair face was sparkling and translucent under the rays of the sun. A bunch of idiots. I'll spit fire at you until your face blossoms. The parrot said disdainfully. Those who had such an expression or said such words were basically sentenced to death, because they were too stupid. How could a person who could sit side by side with the three supreme experts be simple? Didn't they see Lu Outyan standing obediently at the side? Xianyuan Chunxiao looked at the endless heads and turned to Emperor Yi. He asked, Fairy Emperor Yi, how many people are you going to assess at one time? Emperor Ye's Zither Dao secret technique was best at dealing with groups. There was no difference between one person and two people. It was best to deal with hundreds of people at the same time, without worrying about wasting spiritual power and divine sense. She said softly, 300 people in one assessment unit. Now line up in a square. 300 people in a square, 100 in a horizontal line and 30 in a vertical line. Don't make a ruckus. Otherwise, you'll be expelled from the square and won't be able to join the insane sect. Xianyuan Chunxiao said in a deep voice. A supreme expert was personally maintaining order. Who would dare to make a move? The disciples of the Imperial Wang family didn't dare to say much. However, it was easy for them to line up in the first square. Some of the smarter ones rushed to the second and third groups. They did not understand what Ren Huangye's test was, so they sent people to test the waters. These people were the smartest and the most cautious. Xianyuan Chunshao and the others saw these smart people and remembered them in their hearts. They had a photographic memory. Later on, they would get a certain number of points in the comprehensive assessment. Almost all of the people in the first square were from the prominent families and the imperial families. They looked dignified and confident, which made others envious. However, some people raised the corner of their mouth and showed a disdainful mockery. The first square. Enter the center of the square and wait for the assessment. Emperor Yi stood up and walked to the square with his zither. The colorful glazed princess dress danced in the wind. She looked like a flawless goddess from the divine realm. However, her eyes were still closed, which made people feel sorry for her. However, they didn't know that her eyes were the eyes of the Grim Reaper. One look would make the road ahead become the road of reincarnation. As long as you can stay awake for the time it takes to burn a stick of incense under my zither music, you'll pass. This is also called the willpower assessment. It's not too difficult, but it's not easy either. I'll only use 1/10 of my strength, so everyone still has a chance. Ha ha ha, we'll soon be fellow disciples of the same sect. Junior sister, you have to show mercy. A hedonistic young master, who didn't know the difference between life and death, said arrogantly. Unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, Emperor Ye's 5 fingers plucked a zither string. The sound of the zither transformed into a sharp blade that pierced through the void and directly smashed into his chest. Chapter 148. Poot at the body of the playboy was thrown out of the crowd, spurting out a mouthful of blood. Blood flowed from his chest, his body was covered in blood, and he fainted. I am not your junior sister, nor your senior sister. You have already been eliminated. Emperor Yi was cold and indifferent, wanting to establish his prestige. He had almost killed the other party in one move, and this was under the circumstances that she was soft-hearted. Otherwise, this playboy would not be able to be a playboy anymore. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Looking at Emperor Ye's flawless face, their bodies trembled, and they directly lowered their heads. The experts of the bitter sea stage, although they were playboys, and their cultivation was mostly accumulated with spirit crystals and pills, but they could still be considered as a figure of the younger generation. But they could not even withstand a single move, and were almost killed. What right did they have to speak nonsense? At this moment, no one dared to speak nonsense. The princes of the imperial family looked at Emperor Yi, as if they were looking at the emperor sitting in the main hall. Their bodies were slightly bowed, and they did not dare to make the slightest movement. They were afraid that the emperor's thunderous rage would send them to hell. The aristocratic family behind the young man was furious, but did not dare to be impudent. They could only dejectedly take the young man out of the square. Is everyone ready? Emperor Ye's voice was like the sound of nature. Under the rolling of his true yuan, it resounded throughout the square. Ready? The aristocratic family and the imperial family no longer dared to be arrogant, and replied in unison. Sit down, I'll play a song for you. When that Emperor Yi was the first to sit down, the ancient zither resting on his knees. His 10 fingers stroked the zither, and the beautiful sound turned into a hypnotic song, lingering in the ears. The 7-colored divine light completely enveloped Emperor Yi, and the people of the square group, like a boundary, isolating the sound. The people outside could only see the person playing the zither, but could not hear the music. The eyes of everyone within the boundary lit up for a moment, and then immediately dimmed. It was as if they had returned to their childhood, listening to a lullaby in their mother's cradle. Without any defense, they gradually lost themselves in the dream. The melody became more and more pleasant to listen to and more enchanting. Everyone's sea of consciousness was suffused with a dark red color, which made them feel dizzy. In the beginning, there were still some people with strong willpower. But in less than 10 breaths of time, they couldn't hold on any longer. Following the sound of the zither, they fell into a deep sleep. After half an incense stick of time, the 299 youths all fell to the ground, snoring loudly. The people in the outside world could not hear anything. They could only stare blankly as the crowd unknowingly fell asleep. They could not help but be shocked. 300 people, other than the first unlucky debauchee, who was half dead from one strike, and was directly eliminated. The remaining 200 or so youths were all at the Bittersea stage. Yet they could not even block the sound of the little girl's zither. The other party had only used a tenth of his strength. If he had used his full strength, he probably wouldn't have been able to withstand it for even a breath. When everyone looked at Emperor Yi again, other than reverence, there was no other desire in their eyes. Now, everyone understood that the first trial was the most terrifying. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. The parrot curled its lips and said disdainfully, "Don't waste your mental strength. This group of trash is all asleep." Emperor Yi pressed his hands on the zither strings. The sound of the zither came to an abrupt end. He slowly stood up and the enchantment dispersed. Everyone could clearly see that the people on the ground were in a deep sleep. The corners of their mouths revealed a blissful smile. Cough cough, the first trial, all of you are eliminated. Xianyuan Qinxiao's voice woke up the people who were in the middle of the assessment. They opened their eyes in confusion. When they heard that they were eliminated, their faces were filled with unwillingness. They didn't even understand what had happened, and they were eliminated. If anyone is confident that their talent can surpass the 3rd or 4th grade, you can come to me for the talent assessment. If your talent has already been assessed, and you haven't even passed the 3rd grade, you can disperse. Don't waste everyone's time. Xianyuan Qinxiao took out a fist-sized talent stone. It was used to assess talent. There were a total of 9 round lines on the stone. If one could activate a round line, it represented a 1st grade talent. If the 4th round line was activated, it meant that the person had a 4th grade talent. So far, there were very few people who had a 4th grade talent on the Alfal star. It was already very good if there was one in each era. If there was a 5th grade talent, the Alfal region would soon get the news and take them away by force. These nobles knew their own limits and didn't want to lose too much face. How could they have the face to continue the second trial after being defeated so miserably in the first trial? Therefore, when Xianyuan Qinxiao said that it was a talent assessment, they immediately retreated. The second group come in for the assessment. These 300 people were much more honest. They were respectful and reverent to the Emperor Yi. They were afraid that the emperor would be angry and die tragically on the spot. There were a few exceptionally smart people in this group. Their eyes flickered as they stared at Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi bowed slightly and gestured for everyone to sit down. The sound of the zither was heard again. It exploded in the void and rushed directly into everyone's sea of consciousness. In an instant, it broke down their willpower. It was slightly stronger than before. When Emperor Yi was assessing them, his own strength was also slowly rising. A few smart people directly covered their ears with their hands the moment Emperor Yi played the zither. They restrained their divine senses and defended their sea of consciousness with all their might, trying to hold on for the time it took to burn a stick of incense. Buzz, 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 the sound of the zither was hurried, and the impact was getting faster and faster. The pressure made everyone's Taoist heart tremble and their eyes blur. After 3 breaths, the first teenager fell down. Then, they fell into a deep sleep one after another. After 10 breaths, half of them fell down. However, the other half of them were still struggling. Those teenagers who covered their ears with their hands had sweat on their foreheads. Their eyes were ferocious. They wanted to scream but couldn't. They felt that their souls were about to be controlled. At this moment, it was time to show their willpower. The stronger their willpower, the longer they could resist. Emperor Ye's spiritual strength gradually increased, but it still didn't exceed 10% of his strength. His 10 fingers plucked the strings of the zither. The strings of the zither were distorted and emitted a pleasant sound. Boom! After half an hour, 1/3 of them were still struggling. Emperor Yi pulled the 9 strings and sent his 10 fingers forward. The sound of the zither broke through the air and penetrated all the defenses. It rushed directly into everyone's sea of consciousness and suppressed their willpower in an instant. Bang, bang, bang. The remaining 1/3 of the young experts all fell to the ground and fell into a deep sleep. At this moment, not to mention those who came to participate in the assessment, even Xianyuan Qinxiao and the others gasped. Could anyone really join the eccentric sect with Emperor Yi as a test? If there really was someone, how terrifying would their willpower be? Fairy Emperor Yi, can we not do this in the assessment? It's good to let a few people pass. Otherwise, many people will be scared away. Yi Kongqing smiled bitterly. If you don't even have the courage to take the assessment, how can you be qualified to join the eccentric sect? Emperor Yi was indifferent. Yi Qinghan had specially told him not to be soft-hearted. This eccentric sect was prepared by Yi Qinghan to find the most promising young man on Owlfall Star to counterattack Owl Dragon region. He must not be careless. Emperor Yi only listened to Yi Qinghan. Whatever Yi Qinghan said, there was no room for negotiation. In this way, the assessment lasted for a whole day. Emperor Yi consecutively eliminated 30 groups. Out of the 6,000 people, no one passed the assessment. The strongest young man lasted for half an hour. Just a little bit more. But his divine sense was scattered by Emperor Yi, and he fainted directly. He didn't pass the talent test of level 4, but could be regarded as the peak of level 3. In the end, the three old guys looked at each other and decided to give a consolation prize to the crowd by letting him join the eccentric sect and become the 4th disciple. I'm joining the eccentric sect. I've said it before. I Zhao Tianquang can do it. The young man clenched his iron fist. He was so excited that his whole body trembled, but he didn't shout. Countless people looked at Zhao Tianquang enviously. He was just a rogue cultivator without a strong family. He was unknown before. But now he was famous and envied by countless geniuses. Since the 3 seniors have made an exception for you to join the eccentric sect, do your best. Emperor Yi walked over tiredly and said to Zhao Tianquang, "Thank you, senior sister. I won't disappoint you. I won't embarrass the eccentric sect." Zhao Tianquang said respectfully, "Let me introduce you. This senior brother Lin Hong is your eldest senior brother, and this Taiwa is your second senior brother. In the future, if there's anything you don't understand or need help with, look for them. If you can't solve it, come and ask me." "Yes, senior sister." The first day of the assessment had ended. 10,000 people had been eliminated, and only one person was accepted. The 3 supreme martial artists felt that they needed to appease the crowd. Otherwise, Zhao Tianquang wouldn't be qualified to join the eccentric sect. This sect was indeed crazy. The entrance assessment was more than just strict. Emperor Ye's reputation had also spread. In a day he had defeated 10,000 people. This was probably unprecedented. Once Emperor Yi appeared, who could compete with him? Lin Hong looked at Emperor Yi with a hint of awe and admiration. He had already called himself junior brother. After all, Emperor Yi had surpassed him by too much. That night, a pair of father and son came from outside the capital. It was the hunter and his son. The middle-aged man was covered in scars, while the child had a strong will and bright eyes. He was somewhat similar to Taiwa. After a long journey, he was exhausted. Fortunately, the army of the empire received them and welcomed them into the military tent. They even brought food and blankets. Otherwise, they would have frozen to death tonight. Lin Wutian, on the other hand, did not care about the danger. He carried a wooden sword and ran in the night without sleep or rest. He had already galloped for more than 1,000 miles. His clothes were ragged, and he was like a beggar. After going through untold hardships, he had only covered 1/10 of the journey. When he was hungry, he ate raw meat. When he was thirsty, he drank river water. He only rested for an hour every 2 days. If it were any other middle-aged man, they wouldn't be able to bear it. For the sake of cultivation, the only chance to cultivate, he was almost risking his life. I must join the eccentric sect. If I don't succeed, I will die trying. The rugged path was extremely difficult to walk on. Lin Wutian's thin body disappeared into the night as he ran out of the wilderness. A young man with such a terrifying will, who had merged his heart and sword without opening his sea of qi, was destined to be a lonely existence for the sword. Yi Qinghan had done a lot of preparation work in order to refine the Tao Master's supreme elixir. He was covered in spiritual crystals. He communicated with the earth fire and burned the smelting divine furnace red. A large number of materials were also prepared. He restored his spiritual power to its peak state and officially began to refine the elixir. ignoring the assessment outside. Chapter 149. In the Owl Dragon region, a cloud-piercing boat sped past like a meteor piercing through the clouds. Wherever it passed, no one knew how to avoid it. It was as if the coordinates were set, and no one was piloting it. It almost killed a few rank 5 powerhouses, scaring them into cursing loudly. Yi Lingyu frowned, and woke up from his sleep. He touched the back of his head and grimaced in pain. He looked at Lu Ning, who was still sleeping beside him, and frowned. Some of the memories in his sense of perception were very strange, and he felt that something was wrong. I vaguely remember that I didn't go to that star, and didn't go there for training. Why? Yi Lingyu was puzzled. Seeing that the coordinates were set, he became even more suspicious. He twirled his fingers and summoned a golden guqin. He sat cross-legged in the cloud-piercing boat, and gently stroked the 7 strings. The music was soft and lingering. It was slightly inferior to Emperor Ye's music, but it had a healing effect. The sound of the guqin lingered in Yi Lingyu's mind, soothing the restless memories. The sound of the guqin was like a divine medicine, peeling away the deepest memories. Yi Lingyu was suddenly shocked to find that his soul memories had been tampered with. At least a large portion of his memories had been cut off, and then grafted over. If he had not learned the soul cultivation guqin technique, he would not have discovered the problem. Who changed my memory? Yi Lingyu smiled. The soul cultivation guqin technique could find the hidden injuries of the soul, and could repair them by itself. It was an extremely powerful secret technique that could restore the memory that Yi Qinghan had erased. There was a sea of people in the martial arts arena. A group left and a group came, all for the illusory hope of becoming a disciple of the crazy sect. Little Li, you have to work hard later. You have been determined to cultivate since you were young. At the age of 3, you opened your sea of qi with a rare treasure. At the age of 5, your sea of qi was completed. Now, whether you can join the crazy sect and become an official cultivator depends on your luck. The hunter Li Jiucheng said in a deep voice. Yes, father, don't worry. I will definitely pass the assessment. I saw their assessment. I know that as long as I don't fall asleep, I will pass the assessment. I will definitely not fall asleep. Little Li clenched her small fist and said solemnly, Father, come with me to take the test. Perhaps you can cultivate as well. Little Li was a little reluctant and said seriously, Haha, I'm old now, and I'm sure I don't have the aptitude. The masters of the insane sect will definitely not accept me. Li Jiucheng laughed and was very open-minded about the situation. Hurry up and line up. Get ready to take the test. The guards of the city guards maintained order and quickly arranged everyone into groups to take the test. Xiao Li pulled on Li Jiucheng's large hand and desperately dragged him into the group. Li Jiucheng couldn't do anything. After all, Xiao Li was only 6 years old. It was normal that she couldn't leave him, so he could only symbolically take the test. Emperor Yi suppressed all the heroes at an extremely fast speed. Every half an incense stick of time, a new batch of people would appear. Every 2 hours he would rest. His cultivation speed was also increasing faster and faster. The tests would only become stricter and stricter. Soon it was Little Li's team's turn. The father and son, one in front and one behind, looked seriously at Emperor Yi. They were very cautious, afraid that they would accidentally fall into Emperor Ye's trap and fall into a deep sleep. Buzz, the sound of the zither was pleasing to the ears, circling the enchantment and filling the ears of the heroes. Everyone's soul was shaken and illusions appeared in front of their eyes. Many people couldn't resist the temptation and fell into a deep sleep in the blink of an eye. Xiao Li's pink face was full of persistence and fortitude. She kept whispering, I don't want to sleep. I don't want to sleep. Li Jiucheng's eyes widened. He also wanted to join the insane sect with Xiao Li. He used his willpower to control his soul and not let himself fall into a deep sleep. Li Jiucheng's willpower was definitely strong. Although he didn't fight on the battlefield, the forest was his battlefield. Without cultivation, there were no less than hundreds of scars all over his body. Every time he was covered in scars. If it wasn't for his terrifying willpower, he would have died a tragic death. After half an incense stick of time, Xiao Li was still trying to divert her attention. Her eyes were a little scattered and she was still whispering, "I don't want to sleep. I don't want to sleep. I'm taking the test. It's all fake. I don't want to sleep." Li Jiucheng clenched his teeth, and his 5 fingers pierced into his muscles. Blood was flowing out, but he still endured. His willpower was supported by Xiaoli. She wanted to protect him, and didn't want to leave him alone in the insane sect. Everyone else had fallen. Only this pair of father and son, who didn't seem to have the slightest bit of cultivation, were able to withstand it. "Ah, this little guy is so cute." The parrot nibbled on a spiritual fruit, and commented on this pair of father and son. "This person's body is full of wounds. Many of them are fatal, but he's still not dead. His willpower is really terrifying. I estimate that he can hold on for the time it takes to burn a stick of incense." Xianyuan Chenxiao frowned, and looked at Li Jiucheng. He was just a mortal, but he actually had such a terrifying willpower, which surprised him. His willpower is to protect. If his talent is good, this person is a promising talent. Yi Kongqing nodded with satisfaction. It's a pity that he's too old. He looks like he's in his 30s. He has already missed the ability to open up his sea of qi. Lu Guiyan shook her head and sentenced Li Jiucheng to death. Time passed quickly. Li Jiucheng's iron hands were inserted into his flesh and blood. His eyes were cold and indifferent, without a trace of emotion. It was as if he was confronting his prey, and didn't want to retreat. Xiaoli's divine sense was scattered. Her mouth was still murmuring, and her body was swaying. She was about to fall, but she didn't fall. She was like a roly-poly toy, spinning in place. "Hold on. Hold on." Everyone was excited. They raised their fists and shouted, as if their own sons were taking the test. Most of the examiners were shouting, hoping that there would be one more person who passed the test to give everyone some confidence. Even a 6-year-old child could pass. Why couldn't they pass? The bounded domain blocked their shouts. Xiaoli and Li Jiucheng couldn't hear them, but they were still holding on. Xianyuan Chenxiao and others stared at the incense that was about to burn out. They clenched their iron fists, and wished that they could finish the incense. Emperor Ye's test was too difficult. Until now, only Zhao Tianquang had persisted to this step. Coupled with his talent of the peak of the 3rd grade, he was promoted to a disciple of the crazy sect. The others were all eliminated. These days their efforts were in vain. If these 2 people could pass the test, it might inspire everyone's fighting spirit. 10, 9, 8. Almost everyone was counting down. There were only a few breaths left before the time was up. Li Jiucheng was bleeding from his 7 orifices, almost tearing his flesh apart. He didn't blink and glared at Emperor Yi. He didn't see her as a goddess at all. Instead, he saw her as a prey that would be killed in the blink of an eye. This was willpower. No one could resist the charm of Emperor Ye's music. But as a mortal hunter, Li Jiucheng did it. Relying on his terrifying willpower, and the will to not fall before the enemy, he finally made it to the end. 3, 2, 1. Bang! I don't want to sleep. Renhuang Ye's Guqin music came to an abrupt end. After Little Li finished speaking, she fell asleep, coincidentally pressing the line. This caused Renhuang Ye's lips to curl into a faint smile. Finally someone had made it through. She had truly made it through. Li Jiucheng waited for the music to dissipate and hugged Xiaoli, wanting to wake him up with a worried expression. "Wait, don't wake him up. His soul is very tired right now. Let him rest." Emperor Yi immediately stopped Li Jiucheng. "Then did I pass the test too?" Li Jiucheng's voice was hoarse. He was exhausted to the extreme, but he still endured. "Yes. In a few days, your talent will be tested. Follow the guards to rest," Emperor Yi calmly said. After a few days of training, Emperor Yi had become more and more confident. He was now able to hold his own. Yi Qinghan looked at the wooden sword in Lin Wutian's hand, and the way he walked. His eyes lit up. Gu Jiandao. A figure flashed in Yi Qinghan's mind. Yes, this Lin Wutian had a certain temperament of Gu Qingyu. They were not the same person, but they had the same Dao heart. Chapter 150. Lin Wutian's whole body was emitting a foul smell. The soles of his feet were rotten, and the bloody bones in his palms were clearly visible. However, he didn't look aggrieved at all, only excited and expectant. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but feel somewhat satisfied. A person with Lin Wutian's willpower would either fall on the path of cultivation or be glorious for thousands of years. Gu Qingyu, for example, would absolutely shock the entire Xiaolong region and spread his name throughout the universe. Where did you come from? When did you come? Yi Qinghan asked seriously. I came from a small town in the border of Qingzhou. Since the crazy sect announced that they were recruiting disciples, I went out alone. After 30 days and nights, I traveled thousands of miles. Please give me a chance. I want to take the test, and I am confident that I can pass. Lin Wutian's face was full of expectation as he said respectfully, traveling thousands of miles in 30 days and nights. Even a small cultivator in the blood ignition realm would need to rest and not travel day and night. You have really impressed me. However, you don't need to take the test. Yi Qinghan flicked a medicinal pill from his fingertip. When it touched Lin Wutian's body, it turned into powder and poured into his body through his clothes. The majestic medicinal properties rushed into his bones and limbs, quickly healing his injured body. Lin Wutian's whole body trembled. He only felt that his blood was boiling. The wooden sword in his hand trembled slightly, and a cold sword intent burst out. A terrifying and invincible aura gushed out from his eyes. Why don't I take the test? Am I not qualified? Lin Wutian frowned and asked. No one on Xiaoyin planet can teach you. I am taking you as a disciple on behalf of a friend. Yi Qinghan's eyes surged with a special emotion. He owed Gu Qingyu too much. The bone sword mountain collapsed, and Gu Qingyu's whereabouts were still unknown. No one knew whether he was alive or dead. With a sigh, he spoke of the pain in his heart. A proud and sorrowful aura rushed out from his body. Yi Qinghan gazed into the void. He wanted to see through Xiaolong region and find Gu Qingyu to repay his kindness back then. At the same time, at the distant end of the Xiaolong region, on a deathly still star, a vigorous and lonely figure stood proudly on a lonely mountain. He held a sharp sword that reached the sky in his hand. His aura was converged and didn't disperse. His black hair was draped over his shoulders and fluttered in the wind. His side profile looked like a work of God, and his entire body emitted a lonely sword aura. He was like a white snow lotus that stood proudly in the wind at the peak of the 9 heavens. He was arrogant, cold, and disdained to be associated with the common people. In his life, he had only one sword and one brother. He spent the rest of his life alone, only to seek the supreme vicissitudes of the great Tao, to prove his Tao, to be crowned as an emperor, to shatter the void, and to lead the human race to stand proudly in the endless universe. This was his lifelong dream. Gu Qingyu was the only one who could portray the sword. He was so lonely, like a hero, destined to be sad. He stretched out his slender fingers and gently stroked the scar on his neck. With his cultivation, such a small wound could be easily healed, but he let the scar remain. Yi Qinghan, this scar is left for you. It serves as a warning to me that my solitary sword Tao has yet to reach the true peak. After I destroy those shameless villains in Xiaolong region, it will be the day I erase this scar. If your spirit is in heaven, bless me to succeed in seizing the sword seed this time. If I fail, we will be brothers in the next life. The sword seed was the soul of the sword. A 5th grade sword didn't have a sword seed, and its spirit didn't have any intelligence. However, once it had a sword seed, it could transform and merge with its master at any time. Its battle strength would increase by 100 times, or even 1,000 times. Whoosh! Body and sword merged as one, breaking through the void and speeding away. Relying on his physical body, he crossed the stars and the universe. His speed was even more terrifying than the cloud-piercing ship. The stars moved, and all the shackles in front of him turned into flames and scattered with the wind. Xiaolong region, Great Buddha Golden Temple. A sea of people came from all directions to congratulate. Countless Buddhist disciples were wearing golden kasayas, looking very dignified. Even the weakest among them was at the heavenly passage realm. In Buddhist orthodoxy, it was also called the Buddha realm. One had to admit that the great Buddhist orthodoxy in the endless universe was very powerful. It was a rare 8th grade power, and even a small temple had countless experts. Azura Qianyi, shining with Buddhist light, had a golden kasaya draped over his shoulders. He looked bright and dignified, looking very benevolent and compassionate. He was filled with an overwhelming aura. Amipa, Reverend Sherming, has experienced 1,500 years of cultivation history. Half a month ago, he passed away in a sitting posture in a Buddhist cave. Our Buddha is merciful, and gave him the Buddha heart sword seed, relic to enlighten the world. Buddha will eventually sense it if our hearts are kind and benevolent. Ajura Qianyi put his palms together, and his Buddhist power was vast and mighty. He wanted to purify the people who came to pay their respects. Taoist Ajura, I heard that Reverend Sherming passed away in a sitting posture, and gave birth to the Buddha heart sword seed relic. I'm here to pay my respects. Emperor Shunyi, who was wearing a golden imperial robe, stood on a dragon carriage, and was pulled by sacred beast Fire Kirin. He had a majestic aura, and was riding the wind and breaking the waves, rushing over from afar. Congratulations, Taoist Ajura, for obtaining the Buddha heart sword seed. The great Buddha Golden Temple's strength has improved. Lu Su, the great marshal revered of the Lu family, appeared outside the great Buddha Golden Temple, wearing a willow leaf robe specially made by the Lu family. His aura was vast and mighty, suppressing the heavens. Ha ha ha. I haven't seen you for 8 years, and now you're even more powerful than before. Ajura Qianyi laughed and greeted them with cupped fists. After all, these two were rare super existences in Xiaolong region. They were both people who had participated in the peak battle back then. Taoist Ajura, you seem to have a stronger Buddha heart after killing Yi Qinghan. It seems like you have a chance to advance to the immortal sect's great Buddha realm. Emperor Shun Ye's eyes flashed with killing intent as he cupped his fists and said, there was only one immortal sect expert in Xiaolong region, and that was the region master of Xiaolong region. However, this region master did not care about worldly affairs, and was in seclusion all year round. At that level, he was not interested in worldly affairs at all. Therefore, a great martial revered expert could dominate Xiaolong region. No one would have thought that another immortal sect expert would suddenly appear. They seemed to be in harmony with each other, but in fact, they were more vigilant against each other than guarding against thieves. If anyone had the chance to break through to the immortal sect, they would definitely be coveted by others. If they had the chance, they would definitely kill him. Everyone understood each other's thoughts. Therefore, on the surface they laughed, but no one knew what they were thinking. Ajura Qianyi pretended not to know. He stretched out his hands and bowed, inviting the two great martial revered experts into the great Golden Buddha Temple. Many people had already gathered inside the great Golden Buddha Temple. There were many Dao masters and 7 or 8 great martial revered experts. If Yi Qinghan was here, he would definitely recognize them, because they had all participated in the encirclement and annihilation of Shaozhanxing. Taoist Ajura, please take out the Buddha heart sword seed. Let us all pay homage to the Buddha's boundless Dharma. When the crowd saw Ajura Qianyi come in with 2 great martial revered experts, they all cupped their fists and said, rest assured everyone, today, I will take out the Buddha heart sword seed Saraira for everyone to comprehend for 2 hours. However, before that, we should discuss how to kill the traitor Gu Qingyu. If he is still alive, we will not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Ajura Qianyi said coldly. At that moment, he did not have any Buddha heart at all. If Gu Qingyu is to be killed, then what about Sikong Chengjun? One of the 3 supreme battle kings of the Xiaolong territory has already died. The remaining 2 should also be buried. Lu Su smiled coldly and said cruelly, these people knew each other well. There was no need to beat around the bush. They had all participated in the event of that year. Except for Ajura Qianyi, who still had to pretend, the others all tore off their hypocritical masks. At that moment, Gu Qingyu quietly appeared outside the great Golden Buddha Temple. When he saw the Dharma golden seal covering 1,000 miles of the temple, a trace of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. He turned into an illusory Gu Qingyu, and unexpectedly ignored the bounded domain, and directly went through it. Gu Qingyu moved the stars, and directly appeared outside the cultivation cave, without alerting anyone. His sword pierced through the air, and killed 2 guards at the beginner level of the Tao Master. Then he directly entered the cave. The cave was shining with golden light. The Dharma was constantly spreading out and suppressing all evil. No evil spirits dared to approach this place. On the futon in the cultivation cave, a heart-shaped white jade sword about a foot long was emitting a majestic Dharma light. It was like an ancient divine weapon. Its overwhelming aura made people unable to breathe. Those who were not righteous did not dare to look directly at it. Those whose Taoist heart was not stable did not dare to look directly at it. This was the Buddha Heart Sword Seed Saraira. It contained the 1,500 years of cultivation experience of Tao Master Shiming and the Supreme Dharma Profound. The one who had the Saraira would get the true inheritance. However, no one had expected that Gu Qingyu would appear in the cultivation cave at the back of the mountain without alerting anyone. What's more, he quietly killed 2 experts at the intermediate level of the Tao Master. Gu Qingyu smiled. He stretched out his hand and directly held the Buddha Heart Sword Seed Saraira in his palm. He did not feel uncomfortable at all, which showed his Taoist heart and temperament. Tao Master Shiming, you have devoted yourself to cultivation. The Saraira of your death should not be used by a villain. Gu Qingyu turned his wrist, and the Saraira disappeared. Then he walked out of the back of the mountain and soared into the sky. He turned into a horrible sharp sword and wanted to split the sky and earth. No Buddha temple, I don't want it. Gu Qingyu shouted in a low voice. His momentum was unprecedented. The sword chi was fierce and overbearing, full of destructive aura. In a flash, it cut the sky and directly chopped down. Boom, boom, boom. The whole Great Buddha planet was collapsing. The Great Buddha Golden Temple was shattered. Wherever the sword chi passed, everything was turned into powder. Thousands of experts were killed by this sword. Hundreds of figures rushed out of the Great Buddha Golden Temple. They were all Tao Masters. And there were no less than 10 great martial venerables. Their faces were covered in dust. Looking at the raised Great Buddha Golden Temple and the terrifying figure in the sky, they could not help but gasp. Shura Qinya, Emperor Xinyi, remember, this sword is just the beginning. I have only one sword and one brother in my life. If he dies, you will all be buried with him. I, Gu Qingyu, swear by my sword that I will kill all of you in my lifetime. Swoosh. Gu Qingyu broke the void and rushed into the endless universe. Shura Qinya was furious and shouted. He took the Buddha Heart Sword Seed Saraira. If you don't want to die, stop him for me. In a flash, hundreds of people rushed out crazily. The whole Xiaolong region was in chaos. The horrible murderous aura shrouded half of the Xiaolong region. The aura rushed into the galaxy and the sky collapsed. Yi Qinghan, who was still on the Xiaolong star, shot out a golden light from his eyes, as if he could see through the shackles of the universe. He rushed into the depths of the Xiaolong region. The sword chi was too horrible and familiar. He only felt a trace of the aura and knew the identity of the swordsman. It's Qingyu. Yi Qinghan's azure dragon arm was about to explode. The demon dragon saber was emitting a murderous aura. His blood was boiling, and his fighting spirit was soaring. Chapter 151. Xiaolong Region. A sword pierced through the Milky Way, startling the entire region. Then the aura disappeared in a flash. Great Buddha Gold Star rushed out hundreds of terrifying auras, rushing to the end of the Milky Way. The sky kept collapsing, and the Milky Way flowed backward. A divine sword tore apart the heaven and earth, instantly moving thousands of miles away. The supreme way of sword was invincible. Thousands of Daos in the sky of Xiaolong region rumbled, and the law descended. Countless experts flew up to the void to watch, but they didn't dare to interfere. Yi Qinghan looked up at the sky. A sword rainbow pierced through Xiaolong region, and hundreds of experts chased after it. The Milky Way was turbulent, and the situation was extremely dangerous. Damn it! Yi Qinghan's veins bulged, and the veins on his blue dragon arm bulged. He wanted to break through the confinement of his body. Brother is fighting with others, but I can't do anything. The Milky Way is vast, and no one can do this except for these great martial venerables and mid-level Tao venerables. Yi Qinghan was only in Tao Insight realm, and there was a huge gap between him and Tao venerables. At this moment, he could only feel helpless and angry, but he couldn't help. The only thing he could do now was to pray that Gu Qingyu could escape from everyone's pursuit. Gu Qingyu, your brother is dead. Do you still want to live? A voice exploded in the endless Xiaolong region, and it could be heard clearly from countless miles away. She must have gone with him. Go to hell to be brothers. You demon, you dare to kill the monks of Great Buddha Gold Temple. Today you will die. Azura Qianyi roared, and his Buddhist power pierced through the sky. He was the fastest, and he was close to the immortal gate realm. Gu Qingyu transformed into Way of Sword and fled, but he didn't pull away. Hearing the clamor behind him, he sneered and said, I live to kill you villains. When I refine the Saraira, it will be the day you die. The hatred between the two sides had reached an unresolvable level. There was no other choice but to kill. It was a real fight to the death, and there was no room for reconciliation. In the Milky Way, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Dead stars were shattered and flames burned the sky. The speeding meteors were extinguished by the experts with a snap of the fingers. This was the terrifying war between high-level experts. Whoosh! Gu Qingyu's figure flashed across the sky above Alfal Star. His domineering and cold aura crushed everyone's Tao heart. At his level, one sword strike could penetrate a small star like Alfal Star. Everyone was terrified. In a battle between masters, the mortals would suffer. Even Fate Palace realm practitioners felt powerless. If the Alfal Star was shattered, Yi Qinghan might not be able to survive. Roar! A roar of anger rang out from the depths of the Demon Valley continent, shaking the heavenly river, causing the Tao hearts of the supreme experts to tremble. Gu Qingyu's eyes flashed past, piercing through the limpid autumn waters. He saw the Kuei Ox in the Demon Valley continent's blood prison. The passage of time rotated as he directly descended. Ha ha ha, come, destroy this small star and release the vicious beast. Let's see who can escape its devouring. The corners of Gu Qingyu's lips curled up, provoking the experts who were chasing after him. Azura Qinya and the others chased into Alfal Star. Just as they were about to attack, they were stopped by Monarch Shenyi. It's the Kuei Cow. Primordial divine beast, don't attack this star. Everyone's expression changed greatly as they looked at the blood prison. The Kuei Ox was struggling, trying to break free from the confinement and rush out of the blood prison. Its Tao heart was almost shattered, and its face was deathly pale. It's the 8th rank Kuei Ox. Heavens, how did this thing appear in the Owl Dragon region? Lu Su was shocked, his robes fluttering as he tried to escape. Azura Qinya's face was ashen. Buddhist light enveloped Alfal Star, wrapping Gu Qingyu within. He said coldly, Gu Qingyu, leave the Saraira behind, and I won't kill you today. Is that so? Why don't you dare to attack? You're afraid of the Kuei Ox coming out, right? You're afraid, but I'm not. Do you want me to release it for you? Gu Qingyu's purple robes fluttered as he raised a bone sword, wanting to split Alfal Star apart. You dare. Stop. You lunatic. Even if you want to perish together with us, don't implicate countless creatures. Everyone was scared to death, but they didn't want to admit it. They could only drag out the countless creatures of Alfal Star. Ha 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 ha. A group of lowly people knows about countless creatures? There are tens of billions of humans on Alfal Star. Why don't you call them innocent creatures? You kill people who deserve to die. Gu Qingyu laughed madly. He looked at everyone's deathly pale appearance with even more disdain. Everyone was silent. They wanted to retreat, but Gu Qingyu went crazy. He directly shattered Alfal Star and released a terrifying existence. Roar! The Kuei Ox roared again. Its eyes shot out red light, piercing through heaven and earth as it stared at everyone. Everyone felt as if their souls were sealed in ice, as they continuously retreated towards the central continent. Yi Qinghan's whole body was tense. It was too dangerous at this moment. Once these people lost control, any one of them could shatter Alfal Star. Countless creatures would be under their control. Obviously, this was Yi Qinghan's place of residence. It couldn't be shattered, or else his identity would be exposed immediately. Divine Bird, give this cosmos ring to the expert swordsman. Yi Qinghan secretly transmitted his voice. He took out the universe ring containing the sealed ancient beast, and put it on the parrot's little claw. Fuck, get lost. There are so many cruel human experts, do you want me to die? The parrot was furious as it roared inwardly. If you don't give it to him, Gu Qingyu might really shatter Alfal's star and make everyone perish together. Since we're going to die anyway, we might as well die a bit more heroically. Let these so-called great martial revered experts see your divine bird's might. Yi Qinghan said in a muffled voice. The parrot was speechless. The parrot was scared of death. With so many experts, even a bit of the aftermath would be enough to kill it. However, Yi Qinghan was persuading it in every way possible. If it still didn't listen, the consequences would be severe. Master, I've been loyal and devoted my entire life. Could it be that you want me to throw away my life? The parrot grabbed Yi Qinghan's clothes and said in alarm. I believe you have great luck. You definitely won't die. Go, perform a meritorious service for me, and I won't treat you unfairly in the future. Yi Qinghan coldly clenched his fists. If the parrot dared to speak any more nonsense, he would definitely throw it over. The parrot wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Its legs trembled as it looked up into the sky a few hundred kilometers away. There were nearly 100 experts there, and any one of them could easily crush Alfal's star. As for it, it felt a chill run down its spine. Master, if I sacrifice myself, you must remember that today is the anniversary of my death every year. Burn some female parrot for me. The parrot solemnly took the heaven and earth ring and flew toward Gu Qingyu. The wind blows and the clouds rise. The brave warrior will never return. The parrot muttered as it flapped its wings. With every step it took, it would look back 3 times. Seeing Yi Qinghan's resolute gaze, it clenched its teeth and charged over. Brave warriors, I'm just passing by. Please don't attack. When it was still a few dozen kilometers away, the parrot began to cry out loudly for fear that someone would attack and destroy it. Damn it, what a solemn moment. The parrot's words had completely shaken away all the killing intent. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. What kind of bird was this? How could its intelligence be so high? The countless creatures kneeling on the ground looked up into the sky and saw the parrot trembling as it flew toward the group of experts. Their hearts hung in the air for fear that it would anger the experts and destroy Alfal's star in a thunderous rage. Brave warriors, life is precious, but loyalty is even more valuable. I've been loyal all my life, and my entire body is filled with courage. For the countless lives of the people, I've come to advise you not to attack. The terrifying Kuei in the blood prison has been corroded by the endless blood sea's killing intent, and has long since lost its intelligence. Once it breaks the seal, we'll all die. Everyone. Yi Qinghan was speechless. Was this bird really going to deliver the heaven and earth rings? Why did it feel like it was trying to stop a fight? The austere atmosphere was completely destroyed by this sentence. Everyone's fingertips trembled as they coldly watched the parrot. Gu Qingyu's entire body was ice cold. Sword energy filled his body. A wisp of sword energy could destroy this reckless parrot, so he didn't stop it from approaching. Instead, he noticed the heaven and earth rings on its claws. Sirs, I have a secret. Please don't attack. Wait until I'm done. The parrot was deadly earnest as it slowly approached Gu Qingyu. 10 miles, 8 miles. Let me tell you. In fact, the owl-falling star is just a fragment of the ancient Sirius star. There's more than one Kuei sealed here. There are also some terrifying evil spirits. If you awaken them and release them, then I can only congratulate you. You'll all die. How do you know? Emperor Xinyi coldly asked. Because I'm an ancient divine bird. The parrot rushed through everyone's aura and tightly grabbed Gu Qingyu's clothes. It swayed in the wind as it roared. Motherfucker, you scared me to death. My little sweetheart. Everyone. Gu Qingyu retracted his sword energy and looked at the parrot hanging on his clothes. He was puzzled. This lowly bird was too lowly. What was it talking about? Handsome, you have to protect me. I'll give you a treasure. It'll definitely scare off this group of shameless wretches. The parrot grabbed his clothes and directly climbed onto Gu Qingyu's shoulder. It was extremely wretched. Motherfucker, Azura Qinya and the others were angry. Who was the wretched one? Gu Qingyu. Gu Qingyu took the universe ring and probed it with his divine sense. He found a dark and terrifying stone. The creature inside was constantly wriggling, as if it was showing signs of awakening. He used a drop of blood to recognize it as its master. He casually waved his hand and took out the stone. A terrifying and gloomy baleful aura filled the sky and instantly enveloped Owl Falling Star. Roar! The Kuei cow seemed to be frightened. It roared repeatedly and retreated into the depths of the blood prison. Gu Qingyu's face was deathly pale. He felt that his vitality was being devoured. The creature inside the stone was rapidly awakening. Emperor Xinyi and the others were greatly alarmed. They continuously retreated. They angrily looked at the parrot and roared. You actually gave such a vicious creature to the demon. If I had known, I would have killed you, you bastard. You're the bastard. Your whole family are bastards. Bastard, this divine bird is the 10,000 beast divine emperor. You dare to insult this divine bird? I'll burn you to death. The parrot stood on Gu Qingyu's shoulder and immediately felt confident. It no longer cared about these experts and was incomparably arrogant. Motherfucker. You dare to insult this lord? What kind of bird is this? Emperor Xinyi was furious. As a 5th-rank emperor, there was no one in Owl Dragon region who didn't revere him. He was actually insulted by a bird. I already said that this divine bird is the 10,000 beast divine emperor. So what if I insult you? You're not happy. Endure it, overcome it. In any case, I won't change. Don't get angry and fall sick. The parrot knew that these people were Yi Qinghan's enemies. It didn't give them any face. Its words were malicious and could anger them to death. Chapter 152. The parrot's voice was impassioned. It stood there proudly and scolded the experts of Xiaolong region. However, the other party was speechless. They suddenly felt as if their soul had been elevated to the same level as a deity. Gu Qingyu was speechless. Where did this bird come from? Why did it help him for no reason, and even scolded everyone? Azura Qinya believed that he was very strong, but he was still trembling in anger because of the parrot. Baldy, look at your monastic robe and Buddhist aura. However, it's useless. Look at your ugly face. I know you're not a good person. Where's your Buddhist heart? Ha ha ha, his Buddhist heart was eaten by a dog. Gu Qingyu held the stone in one hand, and the sword in the other. He dared to fight against 100 Dao sovereigns with just one sword. Xiao Zhanxing, Azura Qinya, and the others dared to destroy it, because they didn't care about the creatures. However, they didn't dare to touch Xiao Liuxing. If he provoked Kuei Niu, there was no need for the domain master to make a move. The law enforcers of the great emperor's followers would kill them. Great revered martial artists were very strong and could run amok in Xiaolong region. However, they were nothing compared to the law enforcers who traversed the universe. I think the evil spirit inside this stone is about to awaken. I don't know what level it is. Maybe it can devour the entire Xiaolong region. Gu Qingyu raised the stone and let it devour his blood essence to help it awaken. Everyone's face was deathly pale. Gu Qingyu was a madman. He didn't fear death at all. He didn't fear the evil spirit's awakening. Azura Qinya wanted to retreat, but the Saraira was still in Gu Qingyu's hands. He was in a dilemma and didn't know what to do. Don't worry, this evil spirit and I are good brothers. We communicate day and night. We are very familiar with each other. Even if it awakens, it won't attack us. It will only kill these vulgar people. The parrot boasted shamelessly. Yi Qinghan stood in the distance with his aura restrained. He grinned as he watched the parrot show off. Gu Qingyu, you better suppress the evil spirit immediately, and don't let it awaken. Otherwise, Xiaolong region will be destroyed. It won't be good for you. Countless creatures will die because of you. If your Dao heart is shattered, the lightning tribulation will blast you to death. Emperor Xinyi warned with an ugly expression. Do I look like someone who is afraid of death? I wouldn't go to the great golden Buddha temple if I was afraid. Gu Qingyu sneered. Give me back the Saraira and we'll leave. Shura Qinya said angrily. If you have the guts, then don't leave today. At most, we will lure out the Kuei cow and the evil spirit. Who knows who will live and who will die? Gu Qingyu calmly said. Do you not care about the living beings in the sky? Azura Qinya asked. You, a Buddhist disciple, don't even care, so why would a loose cultivator like me care? Gu Qingyu was filled with disdain, his eyes cold. Most likely because he really didn't care. Stone's baleful aura became heavier and heavier. Terrifying soul fluctuations spread out in all directions. Let's go. Some of the Tao masters could not withstand the aura and rushed into the distance, ready to escape from the Xiaolong region. The Saraira did not belong to them. Only idiots would sacrifice their lives for the sake of the Saraira. In a flash, only 3 martial saints remained. Azura Qianyi, Emperor Shunyi, and Lu Su's expressions changed. They didn't have much confidence in fighting Gu Qingyu alone. I'm leaving too. Lu Su soared into the sky, leaving Alfal Star. Whoosh! Emperor Shunyi did not even want to remind them. He directly soared into the sky, leaving Azura Qianyi alone. Gu Qingyu's sword-wielding hand moved slightly. Sword Qi roared, shaking Azura Qianyi to rush out of Alfal Star without hesitation. How could he still care about the Buddha Heart Sword Seed Saraira? Ha ha, a bunch of trash. You dare to oppose this divine bird. With a wave of my divine body, my tyrannical aura can kill you all. The parrot was incomparably arrogant. Gu Qingyu suddenly shot out Sword Qi in all directions, suppressing the black stone, and forcibly absorbing its life essence to resist the evil spirit. The stone's surroundings were sealed by the sword aura. Not even a bit of spiritual energy could enter. The creature inside the stone suddenly roared and frantically struggled, but it soon calmed down. Gu Qingyu continuously shot out Sword Qi, consuming the evil spirit's essence. Then he put it into his universe ring. He looked at the parrot with a cold expression. His sword-like eyebrows slightly trembled, scaring the parrot to stop clamoring. Who told you to come? Who gave you this ring? Gu Qingyu asked in a deep voice. It's master. It's me. Yi Qinghan soared into the sky and instantly appeared in front of Gu Qingyu. Their eyes met and sparks flew. That kind of soul aura would not change. Instantly, they knew each other's identity. Interesting, you actually didn't die. Gu Qingyu's fingertip moved, and his soul aura suddenly increased, but his voice was still cold. I haven't avenged my great enmity. How dare I talk about death? Yi Qinghan smiled and said, this place is still safe. They won't dare to destroy Alfal Star. Come with me, I'll introduce you to a little genius. Maybe you'll be interested. The two jumped down and entered Lulan Empire's imperial capital. The 3 Fate Palace powerhouses all bowed to welcome the arrival of a grandmaster. Their faces were full of reverence, but Gu Qingyu did not have time to talk to them. Here are Tao Sovereign Supreme Pills, 2 for each of you. I'll also share some insights of the Tao Sovereign Realm. Whether you can break through or not will depend on your luck. Yi Qinghan handed over the Tao Sovereign Supreme Pills and shared some insights of the Tao Sovereign Realm to them. Then, he took Gu Qingyu to the Crown Prince Palace. Don't you think this small star is too boring? Gu Qingyu asked indifferently. It's not as good as us conquering the endless universe. However, my realm is too low. I need at least 10 years to break through to the Tao Sovereign Realm. In 15 years we can fight together again. How did you do it? Luck, it can only be attributed to luck. After the explosion, there was darkness and my soul fell asleep. When I woke up, it was this small star. The two asked and answered each other's questions and entered the Crown Prince Palace. A group of people was in the Crown Prince Palace. Gu Qingyu immediately stared at Emperor Yi, because he did not see her before entering the palace. What a strong soul power! What a smart little girl! Gu Qingyu was not stingy with his praise. It was the first time in his life that he praised someone. This is my disciple Emperor Yi. This is my sister, Yi Mingxi, my mother. My friends Jian Shenxue and Lu Outian. Yi Qinghan introduced them one by one, and then fixed his eyes on Lin Wutian. What do you think of this little guy? Yi Qinghan pointed at Lin Wutian and asked. Interesting. He can merge with the sword. I mistook him for a wooden sword leaning against the corner of the wall. Gu Qingyu raised his eyebrows and found that Lin Wutian did not open his sea of qi, and did not enter the state of cultivation. He could not help but be overjoyed. This was a piece of unpolished jade, and he could do whatever he wanted with it. Apprentice. Gu Qingyu was a man of few words. He looked at Lin Wutian and said. Gu Qingyu's whole body emitted sword qi like a sharp sword. The moment Lin Wutian saw him, he knew he would become such a person. Disciple Lin Wutian greets master. Lin Wutian knelt down without hesitation. I will bestow upon you the solitary sword art. You must learn it within a year. Gu Qingyu placed his hand on Lin Wutian's head and passed on the profound meaning of the solitary sword art. Moreover, he stored 12 sword moves in his sea of consciousness. They were all the essence of his sword moves. They were priceless. Brother Yi, let's talk about what happened back then. Gu Qingyu said. Good. It just so happens that there are many things I don't understand that have been bothering my Dao heart. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. His aura became cold. Everyone left, leaving only the two of them in the room. There are still 3 people from your Yi family alive. The moment you self-destructed, they escaped from Owl War Star. Gu Qingyu's memories returned to 8 years ago. He had relied on his terrifying strength to escape, but 3 figures had left Owl War Star before him. He didn't understand. Who? Yi Qinghan's aura stagnated. Your wife, Jian Shui, your brother, Yi Kuan, and your last disciple. Gu Qingyu did not hesitate to name the 3 people. They were extremely important to Yi Qinghan. Asterisk huff 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 asterisk Yi Qinghan should have been happy. However, he could not be happy now. These 3 important people had survived. However, he could not believe them. He could not believe any of them. When he self-detonated that year, he was confident that apart from the great revered martial artist, no one would be able to escape from the Owl War Star. The Owl War Star had turned into countless pieces and dissipated in the void of the Owl Dragon region. No one from the Yi clan should have survived. However, these 3 people had actually survived. Moreover, their speed of escape was even faster than Gu Qingyu. Where are they now? Yi Qinghan's killing intent surged as he asked coldly. I don't know. I was seriously injured when I escaped. I could not find any trace of them. They quickly disappeared. When I recovered and wanted to find them again to investigate why Owl War Star was breached, they had already disappeared. It was as if they did not exist. They should have left Owl Dragon region. Gu Qingyu frowned and said, I hope you remain vigilant. Regardless of whether these 3 people betrayed you or not, you cannot believe them when you see them again. Gu Qingyu kindly reminded. Yes, I know. Owl Falling Star has Kuei Kao. Those great martial revered should not come again for the time being. I will hurry up and cultivate. I will strive to break through to Dao Master Realm as soon as possible. I will personally return to Owl War Star and find out who the real accomplice is. Yi Qinghan's hatred overflowed. He was confident that he had been extremely benevolent to these 3 people. Although Yi Qinghan was a spoiled brat, he had taught him all the techniques he wanted to learn. Occasionally he would teach him a few words. He should not have betrayed the entire Yi family. Gu Qingyu looked at Yi Qinghan frowning and sitting on the chair dispiritedly. He could not help but sigh. The feeling of being betrayed by one's family was indescribable. He casually put the universe ring on the table and left the room. The pressure on Owl Falling Star was monstrous. The tribulation clouds rolled and covered the sky. The Dao Master tribulation was gathering. Yi Qinghan and the others were breaking through to Dao Master realm. Each of them had 2 Dao Master pellets, which should be enough to support their qi and blood. In addition, Yi Qinghan had the comprehension of early Dao Master realm. If they could not break through to Dao Master realm, it could only be said that they were hopeless. Now there was only one last hurdle left. That was the Thunder Tribulation. After passing the Thunder Tribulation, they would have a lifespan of 500 years. If they could not pass the Thunder Tribulation, they would die. 3 figures flew out of the imperial capital. Each of them ran in a different direction. They did not want the Thunder Tribulation to overlap. Yi Qinghan felt the terrifying pressure of the Thunder Tribulation outside. He slowly stood up. A sorrowful aura rushed out of his body. The demon dragon saber appeared in his hand, and he soared into the sky. Chapter 153. Thunderclouds covered the sky and the sun. Owlfall Star fell into darkness as if doomsday had arrived. Occasionally, a bolt of lightning would pierce through the void, tearing apart the darkness and illuminating the earth. Xianyuan Chunxiao, Lu Guyan, and Yi Kongqing were 300 miles away from the imperial capital, forming a triangle. Under the illumination of the lightning, it was extremely tragic. Yi Qinghan stood aside to guard them. These people were the first batch of the crazy sect. They could help him a lot, so he couldn't let them die. The aura of Tao Master was forming. For thousands of years, there had never been a Tao Master in Alphal Star. At this moment, the entire Alphal Star continent was boiling, but some people were unwilling to accept this fact. Dongfang Haoyue and Situ Wanli looked very ugly. They couldn't imagine that after only half a year, their time was coming. But the three of them had entered the legendary realm. Is it because of Yi Qinghan? Did he lead Yi Kongcheng and the others to that level? Situ Wanli clenched his fist and muttered to himself. Impossible. It's impossible. How can a junior of the Tao Insight realm lead people of our level to the Tao Master realm? Dongfang Haoyue was angry and unwilling to admit this fact. They gradually approached the imperial capital of Lulan Kingdom. Seeing the three people's aura, which had far surpassed their own, they couldn't help but be shocked. Boom! A thunderous sound shook the world. It was so loud that even Alphal Star could hear it clearly. Whoosh! A series of white lightning came from the untainted land, which was shocking. Yi Qinghan looked calm. He had passed the tribulation of Tao Master, which was more than 100 times more terrifying than this. According to this level, Yi Kongqing and the other two should have no problem. Are you going to train them? Their talent is too poor. It's not worth wasting your energy. Gu Qingyu's figure flashed and appeared in the air. I don't want to train them, but I need them to help me train the crazy sect. I don't have so much time to waste on Alphal Star. As the elders of the crazy sect, they can help to take care of them. It can save me a lot of trouble. Yi Qinghan replied indifferently. I only believe in the sword in my hand. The more people by my side, the higher the chance of betrayal. Gu Qingyu was cold and arrogant, maintaining a certain degree of vigilance against everyone. But you still took in a disciple. There's no need to seal your heart so tightly. Some people can still be treated with sincerity. Yi Qinghan sighed. One person and one sword is enough. The others are burdens. What I regret the most is that I fought with you in Xiaolong region. Feelings are my weakness, a fatal weakness. I can cultivate Lin Wutian, but I won't give him feelings. Swish, 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 the tribulation clouds were thick. 3 bolts of heavenly master thunder tribulation struck down at the same time. The lightning bolts intertwined with each other and formed a long dragon that was powerful enough to destroy the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. The lightning tribulation was like a powerful army rushing over. The great earth ruptured, extending for hundreds of li. Fortunately, this area was a land of death. The desolate mountains collapsed, and the ancient trees were blasted into ashes by the lightning. A great fire overflowed into the heavens. The 3 great experts faced tribulation at the same time. Their might overflowed into the heavens. They raised their swords and threw themselves at the lightning. They tempered their flesh and reconstructed their golden bodies. Boom! The lightning was incomparably fierce. It almost instantly pierced through the spirit weapons in their hands. Their flesh collapsed and blood splattered everywhere. Then, they were struck into nothingness by the lightning. Their bodies smashed into the ground, battered and exhausted. Gu Qingyu shook his head. With such cultivation, even if they became Tao Masters, they would be the weakest ones. They were even weaker than the 2 Tao Masters he killed outside the cultivation cave. Although they were all Tao Masters, there were differences in strength. A true genius could kill the 3 of them in one move. Yi Qinghan also smiled bitterly. The 3 of them were already in their twilight years. It was already good enough for them to pass the great tribulation of Tao Masters. They could easily kill experts below the Tao Master realm. There was no hope for them to enter Xiaolong region. Go! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and threw the demon dragon saber to Lu Guyun. Hum! The demon dragon saber let out a long hum. It pierced through the void and slashed at the lightning without any damage. Lu Guyun caught the demon dragon saber and immediately became more confident. Unsheath, go! Gu Qingyu's hand trembled, and 2 5th-grade combat weapons appeared. They were extremely sharp, and were only a little inferior to his natal weapon. They were definitely much better than ordinary 5th-grade combat weapons. They pierced through the void and flew directly into Yi Kongqing's and Xinyuan Qinxiao's hands as if they had souls. With 5th-grade combat weapons, the 3 of them began to fight back. They cut the lightning and split the void. Most of the thunder tribulation was shattered by the combat weapons. A small part of the power was used to refine their bodies. The three of them became stronger and stronger. Their bodies emitted the power of Tao masters. Dongfang Haoyue and Situ Wanli, who were hundreds of miles away, were envious and resentful. They could not bear to see them enter the Tao master realm while they were facing death. Let's go and apologize. Do you think Yi Qinghan will also help us pass the Tao master realm? Situ Wanli asked expectantly. I won't go. If I have to apologize to a kid, where will I put my old face? Dongfang Haoyue said disdainfully. You're waiting for death here. I'm not waiting for death. My time is coming. Why do I still care about my face? Situ Wanli's old face darkened and flew toward Yi Qinghan. Dongfang Haoyue's face was gloomy. Thinking that he still had 2 or 3 years to live, he said to himself, maybe it's worth a try. When I enter the Tao master realm, where can I not go? Why should I be angry with this little bastard? Maybe I can kill him and take his fruit of Tao. As time passed, the thunder tribulation of Yi Kongcheng and the others began to dissipate. The three of them bathed in the blood river and were wounded, but they were very excited. The Tao master realm made them feel the real path of a cultivator. They could even see the lines of the Great Way clearly. Before the Fate Palace realm, they were like 10-year-old children. But once they entered the Tao master realm, they were adults. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Dongfang Haoyue and Situ Wanli rushed over from afar like children who had done something wrong. Their faces were filled with sincerity as they bowed to Yi Qinghan. Young Master Yi, this old man has been in seclusion these past few days to reflect on my actions. I know I was wrong, please forgive me. Yi Qinghan raised the corner of his mouth and glanced coldly at their sincere faces. He said leisurely, I won't argue with you. You don't have to worry about it. You can go back now. Dongfang Haoyue and Situ Wanli were embarrassed and did not know how to respond. Thank you for your generosity. Situ Wanli dropped all pretenses and knelt down begging. I know you're kind. I still have some time left. I'm willing to serve you. Please give me a chance. When Dongfang Haoyue saw this, he immediately became shameless and knelt down as well. Tears flowed down his aged face in a sincere and touching manner. He said in a hoarse voice, this old man was foolish. Fortunately, the young master had enlightened me, allowing me to have an epiphany before my death. I beseech the young master to take us in as old men. We are willing to lend you a hand. Master, take them in. Let me teach these 2 bitches a lesson. The parrot looked at the 2 thick-skinned old men. Its eyes flashed, and it immediately transmitted its voice to them. Ha ha ha, it's great to know you're wrong. Since you're sincerely repentant, how can I not guide you to the right path? Yi Qinghan laughed and waved his hand. Get up. We'll talk about it after the 3 of them have passed the lightning tribulation. Dongfang Haoyue and Situ Wanli were overjoyed. They looked at each other and their eyes flashed. However, the parrot saw it and could not help showing a wretched smile. It secretly said in its heart, old bastards, you still don't know how to repent. See how I'll deal with you. The void lightning tribulation gradually weakened, and the tribulation clouds began to dissipate. The 3 experts officially entered the early stage of the Tao Master realm. Their temperament changed greatly, and they became extremely majestic. Their vitality became majestic, and their qi and blood were rejuvenated. Their ability to produce blood was strengthened more than 100 times. However, they looked at Yi Qinghan with more awe. Thank you for saving our lives, Master Yi. If you have any errands in the future, I'll do it. Yi Kongqing and others bowed and said, I don't need you to do anything for me. Just help me take care of the Kuang sect. From today on, the Kuang sect is officially established. You 3 will be the 3 elders. Take good care of the 12 children. They will be of great use to me in the future, Yi Qinghan said lightly. Yi Kongcheng and the others immediately became excited. Looking at the indifferent Gu Qingyu, their eyes were full of reverence. They didn't dare to have the slightest blasphemy, and they didn't dare to take the battle weapon for themselves. They hurriedly handed over the battle weapon and bowed. Thank you, young master, for bestowing this battle weapon to help us pass the tribulation. Thank Yi Qinghan. Gu Qingyu took the weapon, flicked his sleeves, and left without giving any face. Go back and set up the Kuang sect, Yi Qinghan said and left. Along the way, Yi Kongqing and the others ridiculed Situ Wanli and Situ Wanli, making them wish they could find a hole to crawl into. However, the older they got, the thicker their skin became. In order to survive, the two of them pretended not to hear anything. They lowered their heads and walked forward, a trace of malice flashing in their eyes. Hey, you two came to pledge your loyalty. Shouldn't you show your sincerity first? The parrot flew in front of them and asked provocatively. Situ Wanli and Dongfang Haoyue knew how poisonous the parrot's mouth was. They immediately bowed and asked, "What kind of sincerity does the divine bird need? I will do what I can." "What are you talking about? As if this divine bird is a greedy person. You should show your sincerity to the master. Otherwise, how can he let you pass the tribulation without worry?" The parrot raised its eyebrows and reminded them. Situ Wanli and Dongfang Haoyue were overjoyed and quickly said, "Divine bird, please tell us what Master Yi needs most at the moment." "Ahem. The master's mother was poisoned and needs the rejuvenation pill to detoxify the poison. However, this material is scarce and can only be found somewhere in the Demon Valley continent. The master is busy and has no time to find it. Do you want to show your sincerity?" The parrot smiled and whispered, "Thank you for your advice, divine bird. I just don't know what the materials for the rejuvenation pill are. Where is the easiest place to find it in the Demon Valley continent?" The two old fools actually believed the parrot. "Let me tell you, in the southwest of the Demon Valley continent, about 3,000 miles, there is a mountain range. It looks a little dangerous, but it is not dangerous. There is a lot of spiritual energy there. Maybe there are materials for the rejuvenation pill. They are evergreen 100-leaf spirit." The parrot said seriously. When the two heard it, they were overjoyed and thanked it again and again. Then they turned and rushed over. Yi Kongqing and others were curious and asked, "Divine bird, is there really so many elixirs in the place you are talking about? It is better to let us go. Letting these two old bastards go is too easy for them. Ha ha ha. There is a huge surprise waiting for them. You want to go? I won't stop you." The parrot laughed cockily. Then it turned around and rushed towards Yi Qinghan. Chapter 154. The three Tao masters looked at the parrot's wretched smile and knew that it was definitely not a good thing. They could not help but mourn for Dongfang Haoyue and Dongfang Haoyue. They would definitely be seriously injured or even killed. What they did not know was that there were more than just terrifying ferocious beasts there. Apart from the fact that they could not deal with more than 100 young masters of the Stan clan, 1 or 2 great limit realm masters would be no different from courting death. 3 Tao masters suddenly appeared in Al Falling Star. The 100 Families dynasty came to congratulate them and offered countless treasures, which happened to be the starting asset of the crazy sect. Yi Qinghan did not lack spiritual crystals, but he had other treasures such as spiritual herbs. On the second day of the 3 Tao masters' heavenly tribulations, the establishment of the crazy sect was announced. It was divided into an inner sect and an outer sect. The outer sect was composed of the direct descendants of the 3 Tao masters. The inner sect disciples were personally selected by Yi Qinghan. Lin Hong was the chief senior brother, and Emperor Yi was the senior sister. However, Emperor Yi was the only direct disciple. The others were at most nominal disciples. As soon as the crazy sect was established, and the outer sect was established, it immediately attracted the support and flattery of the rich and powerful families, and the royal family. If a royal disciple did not enter the outer sect of the crazy sect, could he still be considered a prince? Therefore, thousands of families and powerful forces rushed to the 9 linked spiritual mountains outside the Lulan Empire's capital. After all, the 3 elders of the crazy sect were enough to be respected by the world. More people wanted to know what the sect master looked like. On the 15th day of the crazy sect's establishment, the heroes' invitations were issued to the outside world. The bigger purpose was to attract more real geniuses to join. Countless heroes arrived at the foot of the spiritual mountain and looked at a 10-meter tall tablet with 2 large characters written on it. Crazy Sect. It showed an arrogant, domineering, fierce, and arrogant aura. It revealed the principle of great Tao and the origin of profound meaning. It was difficult to understand and fascinated people. They felt that by looking at these two characters, they could comprehend the great Tao. It was full of sword Tao and knife Tao. That's right, the word crazy was carved by Yi Qinghan, containing the Tao of blade, profound meanings of the element of darkness, and the element of water. It was domineering, arrogant, and fierce. The word crazy was carved by Gu Qingyu, containing the Tao of sword and the Tao of sword. It was cold and merciless, causing others to revere it, and not dare to profane it. Moreover, these two words were the eye of the sect protecting formation. It was personally arranged by Gu Qingyu, and could withstand the full power attack of a great revered expert. Moreover, the eye of the formation could counterattack and explode with a sword attack that could kill any expert under the great revered level. The 9 linked spiritual mountains were like 9 dragons circling around, paying tribute to the divine dragon. The inner sect was at the center, while the outer sect circled around, gathering dragon chi and the momentum of heaven and earth. What a great place! The conceited sect was the most conceited in the world. In the future, I will definitely be at the peak of rank 5. Countless cultivators stood at the foot of the 9th linked spirit mountain in front of the stone tablet, their faces full of awe. Nonsense! How could a sect built by 3 Tao masters be a 4th grade sect? A cultivator said proudly, as if he was also a member of the conceited sect. If I could retire here, I would be able to prolong my life. An emperor of a dynasty came in person with a few genius princes, hoping to join the conceited sect. Don't think that you can retire here just because you're an emperor of a 3rd grade dynasty. Don't you know who built this place? Even I may not be qualified to retire here, let alone you. An arrogant voice resounded at the foot of the mountain, startling many people. Lu Songhai, the current emperor of the Lulan Empire, and the father of Lu Outyin, was accompanied by Lu Outyin and a few princes with good cultivation. They were all arrogant and did not have the reserved temperament of Lu Outyin. So it's you, Emperor Lu. Congratulations, congratulations. Once Lulan ascended, the conceited sect was built outside the imperial capital. Everyone is envious of you. In the future, with the conceited sects supporting each other, who would dare to invade? Everyone congratulated him insincerely. Ha ha ha. It's all thanks to Outyin's good foresight that he got to know the sect leader of the conceited sect. Otherwise, how could ancient Lulan have such a good opportunity? Lu Songhai was happy, and he liked Lu Outyin even more. The crown prince's position was very stable, and Lu Outyin's prestige in the empire was not comparable to the other princes. I heard that the sect leader of the conceited sect is a teenager. I wonder if it's true. Everyone asked. That's right. That's why I said, don't bully the young and poor. Lu Songhai sneered and waited for the auspicious time of the conceited sect's opening ceremony. After a while, 3 great Tao masters walked out of the conceited sect. Their faces were flushed with excitement. Welcome, my friends and the emperors of the various dynasties, to the conceited sect's opening ceremony. Our sect leader is waiting for you in the sect. Please come in. Lu Guyan was very dignified and full of killing intent, which shocked everyone. No one dared to be rude, and they all returned the greeting. After all, Lu Guyan was not someone to be trifled with. Back in the days, he used his own talents to conquer the huge ancient Lulan. His killing intent was very strong. The crowd followed the 3 great Tao masters into the 9th successive sacred mountain. They were completely stunned and speechless by the conceited sect's generosity. The main peaks of the sacred mountain were paved with lower-grade spiritual crystals, while middle-grade spiritual crystals were used to set up the spirit gathering array. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth gathered in the conceited sect. 90% of the spiritual chi was gathered in the main peak of the inner sect, and 10% was shared by the other 9 peaks. Although it was only 10%, it was thousands of times denser than the outside world. No one knew how dense the inner sect would be. Cultivating in the outer sect was fast, but in the inner sect, 1 day of hard cultivation was equivalent to a year in the outside world. Damn, it's really a big deal. There are at least 50 million lower-grade spiritual crystals on the 9 peaks, and at least 1 million middle-grade spiritual crystals. There are even middle-grade spiritual crystals. Everyone took a deep breath and felt the spiritual chi invade their nostrils. It was a feeling of being forced into their bodies. It was so fucking cool. All of them wanted to act shamelessly and refused to leave. At this time, they finally understood what it meant to join the conceited sect. Lu Outyan smiled. He was also shocked speechless by Yi Qinghan's generosity. This kind of array almost absorbed all the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. And there were so many spiritual crystals in the spirit gathering array. It was estimated that in a few hundred years, the entire 9-linked sacred mountain would become a spiritual crystal mine. There was a huge square below the inner sect, which could accommodate thousands of people. It was unusually flat and divine light flowed. With the support of the Dharma, it could withstand the attacks of experts below the middle-level Tao Master. Even the 3 Tao Masters could not destroy it. There were about 300 tables in the square, and each table could seat 10 people. It was enough to entertain these people. Halfway up the sacred mountain, 2 young men in their 20s were majestic and imposing. They were as elegant as jade, and they immediately attracted everyone's attention. Yi Qinghan and Gu Qingyu walked side by side with incomparable arrogance. Their eyes were filled with disdain for all living beings, as if the world couldn't suppress them. Greetings, Mr. Yi, the leader of the conceited sect. Greetings, senior. Everyone bowed and saluted. Gu Qingyu, although it was the first time he appeared, who did not know him. A few days ago, he fought against 100 experts of the Owl Dragon territory, with only 1 sword. His sword chi alone could shatter the Owlfall star. His back was enough to turn everyone upside down. No one was more powerful than him. Well, sit down. Today is the opening ceremony of the conceited sect. I invited you because I want to recruit more geniuses and train them. Don't be shy. Yi Qinghan nodded lightly and looked at the crowd, as if he was looking at his juniors. No one dared to be presumptuous. The 3 Tao Masters stood aside respectfully. Who dared to say anything? Congratulations, Brother Yi. I'm poor and can't take out any treasures. But I'm willing to promise that as long as Lulan does not fall, we will offer millions of lower spiritual crystals every year to support the conceited sect. Lu Outyan's aura was ethereal. Not bad. You have a sword heart and a sword spirit. The great reincarnation sword art suits you very well. Gu Qingyu said indifferently. He seemed to be disdainful, but it was actually the best compliment. After all, he had never praised more than 5 people. In the past, he had praised Yi Qinghan and Sikong Chungjun. A few days ago, he had praised Emperor Yi and Lin Wutian. The last person he had praised was Lu Outyan. Lu Outyan smiled and said humbly, "Thank you, senior, for your praise. You don't have to call me senior. Since Brother Yi thinks highly of you, you can be considered half a brother to me." Gu Qingyu said coldly. Lu Outyan was recognized by Yi Qinghan and Gu Qingyu as brothers. This made everyone envious. The princes of Lulan were jealous. They wanted to greet them, but they were intimidated by Yi Qinghan and Gu Qingyu's cold aura. They did not even dare to greet them. Sit down. Servants, bring out a plate of spirit fruits and good wine. As the host, Lu Guyan took on the responsibility of entertaining everyone. Today is the opening ceremony of the sect. In addition, we are giving everyone a chance to recommend themselves. If you have the confidence to join the crazy sect, you can recommend yourself and show us a thing or two. Let us broaden our horizons. Lu Guyan said loudly. Everyone's eyes lit up. Not to mention the education level of the crazy sect. Just the generosity of the crazy sect made even Xian Yuanyu and Lu Patian want to scratch their heads and become a deacon or an ordinary disciple. A group of young disciples came down from the inner sect. Among them was a farmer and hunter who looked to be in his 30s. They all looked very ordinary. Only Ren Huangye's temperament was extraordinary. It was unparalleled since ancient times. Although his eyes were closed and he was supported by Yi Mengxi and Jian Chenxue, no one dared to underestimate him. Lin Wutian followed Emperor Yi with a pitiful look. He did not dare to take half a step forward. It seemed that he had been taught a lesson in the past few days. Emperor Yi, Yi Mengxi, Jian Chenxue, and Wang Shi sat at Yi Qinghan and Gu Qingyu's table. Outsiders, including Lu Outyin and Lin Wutian, were not even qualified to eat at the same table with the three Dao masters. The insane sect is officially open, Yi Qinghan announced proudly. His arrogance soared into the sky. Humph! Did the crazy sect get the approval of the Stan clan? You dare to establish a 5th-grade crazy sect without even reporting to the Stan Star? How arrogant! An even more arrogant and overbearing voice exploded in the void like thunder, spreading in all directions. The aura was so oppressive that it was difficult to breathe. Even the three Dao masters' faces changed. Yi Qinghan and Gu Qingyu raised their eyebrows and looked at the void at the same time. A large cloud-piercing ship was speeding over. Before entering the atmosphere, two terrifying auras stepped out of the cloud-piercing ship and came to the top of the crazy sect. They looked down at everyone, their eyes full of anger and disdain. The young experts of the Stan Star's main bloodline. Their bloodline was ancient. The real Stan Giant's bloodline was full. Their clothes were fluttering, and they were extremely powerful. Chapter 155. The Stan clan had always been strong. The Alfal Star was the backyard of the Stan clan. How could they allow others to be arrogant? Stan Bahu and Stan Shenquang were the top 10 young powerhouses of the Stan clan. They were ranked 8th and 10th respectively. Even in the Alfal region they could be ranked. At this moment, they appeared in the Alfal Star. Even the three Dao masters were shocked. After all, their servile nature was deeply rooted. They did not dare to offend them. Yi Qinghan raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a creepy smile that sent chills down everyone's spines. With a wave of his hand, the sect protection formation was removed, allowing the two to fly in. As soon as the two entered the sect, their faces were full of arrogance. They looked down on everyone in the world. Looking at the extravagance of the sect, they could not help but gasp greedily. Then, they put away their greed and looked coldly at everyone. They scolded. Why didn't you get up and bow when you saw me? You don't have any respect for the Stan clan? Everyone was shocked. They all got up and bowed. Greetings, Master Stan. The inner sect of the sect did not move. If Yi Qinghan did not move, they would not move either. Boom! The cloud-piercing ship rushed into the sect. The strong wind blew everyone around. Even the tables were blown away. Many people were injured. Ha ha ha, this feels good. More than 10 people came down from the large cloud-piercing ship. They were all powerhouses of the Fate Palace realm. They looked very young. It seemed that they had broken through to the Grotto Heaven realm in their 20s, and became Fate Palace realm powerhouses in their 30s. They were all arrogant, and looked at the embarrassed people with disdain. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Who is the sect master of the sect? Come out! Stan Bahu glanced coldly at the more than 10 people from the sect. His murderous intent shocked the 9 heavens. I am. You came to the sect to make trouble. Have you not thought about the consequences? Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. He did not hide his murderous intent. Consequences? You built the sect without permission, and looked down on the Stan clan. Have you not thought about the consequences? Stan Bahu asked in disdain. Yi Qinghan sneered and slowly stood up. His aura rose and his cold eyes could almost freeze a person's heart. It turns out that I need to report to your Stan Star in order to establish a sect. This is the first time I've heard of it. Yi Qinghan smiled. His smile made people's hair stand on end. It was terrifying. Of course. The Alfal Star is a subordinate star of the Stan Star. It is the servant of the Stan clan. If you want to build a sect, you must get the approval of the Stan Star. Stan Bahu said coldly. Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fists, and the veins on his azure dragon arm flared up. In such a dense spiritual mountain, he instantly unleashed his peak strength. He stomped on the ground, causing stone fragments to fly everywhere. His figure flashed and disappeared. Extreme Dao Divine Dragon Step. Yi Qinghan had mobilized the entire Alfal Star's momentum, causing the heavens to crumble and the earth to rend. Boom! At such a close distance, it was so fast that even a Tao master could not react, let alone this group of young people. Their mistake was that they were too arrogant. They were too close to Yi Qinghan. Even if their vital spirit was monstrous, they could not reach the peak in an instant. Hastily fighting with Yi Qinghan in close quarters was courting death. Crack! The crisp sound of broken bones was deafening. Yi Qinghan and Stanba, who were like meteors that smashed into the distance. The flames were monstrous. The profound meaning of water formed a water dragon that wrapped around the two of them and soared into the sky. Ah! Stanbahu's face was ferocious. His shrill roar broke through the clouds. His entire right arm was deformed by the azure dragon arm because of the sudden collision with Yi Qinghan. His bones were broken inch by inch and golden blood poured into the sky. The tearing pain made his soul temporarily stop thinking. Downward blow. Yi Qinghan's iron fist turned into a palm and directly imprinted on Stanbahu's chest. His back bulged, showing a 5-fingered palm print. His chi and blood spurted out, like a blood sword piercing through the air. However, this was not the end. Yi Qinghan changed his moves smoothly. He flipped his hand and gently raised it. His big hand directly clasped Stanbahu's throat, controlling his blood and vital spirit to prevent him from exploding. His body suddenly swayed and returned to the front of the crowd. He held Stanbahu's neck like this, shocking all the heroes. Gulp! Everyone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Even the experts of Stanbahu's bloodline were stunned. Now I report to you that I want to establish the crazy sect. Great expert of Stanbahu's bloodline, do you agree? Yi Qinghan slowly sat down and pressed down on Stanbahu's body. Stanbahu's terrifying body was forced to kneel in front of Yi Qinghan. His face was ferocious, and his body was constantly twisting, trying to break free from Yi Qinghan's restraint. But he couldn't move no matter how hard he tried. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. How was this asking for advice? This was clearly a crazy provocation of Stanbahu's bloodline. Too crazy, too arrogant, too overbearing. With just one punch, he had sent the top 10 experts of the younger generation of the Stan's main bloodline flying, while coughing up blood. Even the bones in his hand had been crushed. Now he was even holding onto his neck, forcing him to kneel down. It was simply a great irony for him to ask for permission. Gu Qingyu sneered, opened a jar of the best purple light wine, poured a big bowl and drank it. He didn't even bother to look at these people. Me too. Give me a bowl. Yi Mingxi looked at the purple light wine with sparkling eyes. This was her favorite wine when she was young. Although she would fall down after drinking it, it didn't affect her love for purple light wine. At this time, she didn't even have the interest to look at the experts of Stanbahu. In her eyes, with her brother around, she didn't have to worry even if the sky fell. Emperor Yi raised his eyebrows slightly and was about to open his eyes. The divine Guqin imprint in his palm was restless, ready to support Yi Qinghan at any time. Don't bother about them. Come, let's continue drinking. Gu Qingyu was disdainful. He waved his hand and poured a bowl of purple light wine for everyone. The fragrance assailed their noses. The people of Stan clan were arrogant just now, but now their mouths were twitching. They didn't dare to move. I asked if you agree. What do you mean by silence? Yi Qinghan asked coldly. His Stanba, whose neck was almost twisted out of shape. His face was flushed with blood, and his eyes were overflowing with essence blood. He clenched his teeth and wanted to stand up, but Yi Qinghan raised the corner of his mouth and smiled disdainfully. His azure dragon arm exerted more force and shattered the stone floor. Kacha! Stanbahu's kneecap hit the stone, and stone chips flew everywhere. What, you still want to stand up? I don't like to look up at others. If I sit, you can only kneel, Yi Qinghan said coldly. Stanbahu grabbed Yi Qinghan's collar with his left hand and wanted to stand up, but Yi Qinghan grabbed him and broke his hand. Pa 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 pa. Yi Qinghan slapped Stanbahu's face a few times, causing his face to swell and flesh to fly everywhere. If I tell you to kneel, you will kneel obediently. If you dare to move again, I will break your limbs. The hoarse voice was full of dominance and rushed into Stanbahu's sea of consciousness with a supreme will. Stanbahu was shocked on the spot and didn't dare to move. You are courting death. How dare you disrespect my Stan clan? Today is the opening ceremony of your crazy sect, and it is also the day of your sect's demise. Stanbahu was furious and shouted at Yi Kongqing and the others, Take down this traitor for me, or the Stand Star will punish you. Lu Guyan and the others' mouths twitched. They clenched their iron fists and looked at Yi Qinghan, waiting for instructions. Yi Qinghan smiled disdainfully and said proudly, "They don't dare to attack me. Why don't you do it? If you have the guts, let go of my 14th brother first. I will blow your head off with one punch." Stan Bahu was disdainful. He only thought that Yi Qinghan was just a sneak attack, and didn't have any real ability. "Ha, good. I like men with courage like you." Yi Qinghan's Azure Dragon arm exerted force and slammed Stan Bahu to the ground. He lifted his foot and kicked him directly into the ground. The stone floor cracked and blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Puff! How could Stan Bahu withstand Yi Qinghan's violent attack? He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. It was too brutal. He was one of the top 10 young masters of the Stand Star's main bloodline. Although his ranking was very low, he was beaten like this and lost his face. After today, his Dao heart might be shattered by Yi Qinghan. Oh my god, this is the rhythm of starting a war with the Stand Star. Yi Kongcheng and the others broke out in cold sweat, and their heartbeats accelerated. In their eyes, the Stand Star was a giant. Any side branch could sweep away the Alfal Star. Now that the main bloodline had come, they were beaten up. Moreover, it was a brutal beating. This was too crazy. No wonder the sect was called the Crazy Sect. The people of the Stand Star were furious and wanted to punch Yi Qinghan. "You are the first one who dared to provoke the Stand Star bloodline. Today, you will pay a heavy price." Stan Bahu was trembling. He was obviously angry. Seeing that Lu Guyan and the others didn't make a move, he knew that these few people were definitely not enough. He turned to the others and shouted, "Inform the Stand Star that today I will smash the Crazy Sect in your palace." Boom! Yi Qinghan kicked Stan Bahu in the middle of his waist and sent him flying dozens of meters away. He crashed into a dozen tables, and his face hit the stone dragon at the gate of the Crazy Sect. The stone dragon emitted a sect protection array, and his face was flattened. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. His originally handsome face became extremely ugly. "Fuck you. You are too crazy." 7 or 8 strong men of the Stand Star rushed over and waved their iron fists at Yi Qinghan. The momentum was magnificent, and the spiritual energy surged. The sect protection array was activated again, and the divine light shone brightly. Even if their battle power was monstrous, they could not destroy the Crazy Sect. "I am so crazy. Let's see what your Stand Star can do to me." Yi Qinghan used the extreme divine dragon steps. He did not want to hide his strength at all. The strongest battle power and the strongest speed burst out instantly. The Azure Dragon arm could almost penetrate the sky. Each punch could break the arm of a strong person. All of them collided head-on and were extremely overbearing. Boom, boom, boom. Punches, whip kicks, knee strikes, elbow strikes. It was the body refining school that the Stand Star was best at. Yi Qinghan fought with force. The sound of broken bones was endless, and blood and flesh splattered everywhere. The hand bones of a few young people with weaker cultivation were directly broken by him. In less than 3 breaths, all of them fell down, screaming miserably. Yi Qinghan was covered in blood. The flesh of the Azure Dragon arm exploded. The golden battle bones were terrifying and gloomy, exuding a chilling aura. It was like the skeleton of an ancient beast. His body stood proudly in the center of the battlefield, as overbearing as a war god. It made everyone understand why the sect he established was called the Crazy Sect. Everyone in the sect held their breaths. Only Gu Qingyu continued to drink the spirit wine without raising his head. Chapter 156. Everyone's heart was beating wildly, and some did not dare to look directly at Yi Qinghan. A gust of wind blew past, and the hair on his temples fluttered. His side profile made the mountains and rivers lose their color. The corner of his mouth was slightly raised, and his arrogant and unruly face bloomed with a different temperament. The Azure Dragon arm glowed with golden light, and quickly repaired itself. Ouch! Ah! Si Chenquang and the others screamed and rolled around. They had the strongest combat power, and the advantage of a higher realm, but they could not use it. They were completely crushed by Yi Qinghan. The distance was too close, and both sides were too fast. They did not have time to make any big moves. They relied on their physical body, speed and close combat skills. But who dared to say that these three were more terrifying than Yi Qinghan? Yi Qinghan was the ancestor of close combat, and his skills were at the peak. The ancient bloodline of the Stand Star could not withstand Yi Qinghan's physical body. Si Chenquang lost unjustly. In the end, he did not understand how 7 or 8 people could still lose against one person. There was dead silence in the martial arts arena. The array shone brightly and instantly repaired the damage of the crazy sect. The spiritual energy was overwhelming. Clang! Little Mengshi drank a bowl of spiritual wine, and in the blink of an eye, she fell down from the stool. Her face was red, and she fainted, breaking the silence of the crazy sect. Gu Qingyu raised his eyebrows. He had never seen such a poor drinker who still wanted to drink. Wang Shi and Jian Chenshua quickly got up and took Yi Mingxi back to the inner sect of the crazy sect. They did not want to worry about these things in the sect. You will regret it today. You dare to attack the disciples of the Stand Star. You will definitely be mercilessly suppressed by the main star. A young man ran out of the cloud-piercing ship with a pale face. He looked at the geniuses of the Stand Star who had fallen to the ground. He wanted to drive the cloud-piercing ship to escape, but he did not dare to. At this moment, he could only glare at Yi Qinghan in horror. The faces of the major sects, clans, and dynasties turned pale. Yi Qinghan dared to provoke the Stand Star, but they did not. In their eyes, the people of the Owl-Falling Star were the slaves of the Stand Star lineage. Anyone from the Stand Star would be treated as their master and be deeply enslaved. Lu Guyan and the others' expressions were also extremely ugly. They looked at Yi Qinghan together, but discovered that he had an indifferent look, and their hearts calmed down slightly. Set the table and continue serving, Yi Qinghan ordered forcefully. Everyone looked at each other and hesitated, but when they saw Yi Qinghan's eyes, which contained the will to split the sky, they did not dare to disobey. They lifted the table and helped clean up the surroundings, waiting for the people from the outer sect of the Kuang sect to serve the dishes. Soon, the table was once again filled with spiritual fruits and dishes. The ordinary purple light wine was almost limitless, making everyone drool. The purple light wine exuded a soul-stirring spiritual energy, making people's blood boil, and their blood boil, wanting to break through the shackles. In the time it took to eat a meal, the spiritual wine and the rich spiritual energy of the Kuang sect caused hundreds of people to break through a small realm, making them ecstatic. Many people began to recommend themselves and began to perform. Unfortunately, they were all rejected outside the door and did not even get the identity of the outer sect. Everyone could not help but feel disappointed. Royal families, clans, and sects of third rank and above can recommend a disciple, but I hope you will treat this quota seriously. At the very least, his temperament must pass. Otherwise, even if he enters the outer sect, I will kick him out. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly. He was ready to condense the Owl-Falling Star through the outer sect. Although there were not many geniuses on this small star, it was because of the environment. There was not much spiritual energy. With him around, there was no need to worry about the lack of spiritual energy. Even if this star was weak, it could be forged into an iron bucket. As long as a superstar formation was built and combined with the power of heaven and earth, it could block the attack of a great martial venerable. When the crowd saw this, they were overjoyed. This was the best opportunity. In addition, the outer sect is also the place where the family heads and the emperor retire. As long as you meet the requirements, you can apply to enter the outer sect to cultivate and retire. Whoosh! The crowd stood up excitedly. The spiritual energy here was amazing. If they could retire here, most of them could live longer, and maybe even break through to the next realm. With the guidance of the 3 Tao Masters, it would not be a problem for them to live for another 30 to 50 years. Thank you for your kindness, sect leader. The crowd bowed and was overjoyed. Yi Qinghan smiled. Obviously, he wanted to tie up the big forces. As long as the leaders of the big forces were tied up, they would not be afraid of running away. This time, they were preparing to build the star formation. The control of the formation would be reserved for the inner sect disciples. No one else could get a share of it. In addition, if any force can recommend a disciple to enter the inner sect, they will be able to get a place in the outer sect. The disciples who can enter the inner sect are definitely talented, pure, and have a strong will. I don't care if they are from a rich or powerful family, because the crazy sect is the #1 rich or powerful family. So let's dig out more ordinary people from your forces, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan's move was destined to dig out the geniuses at the bottom of the Alfal star and cultivate them. The crazy sect would be able to rival the other rank 5 sects in a short time. Gu Qingyu listened to Yi Qinghan's words and nodded involuntarily. He felt that this was a good idea. If you need to build the star formation, just tell me if you need it. The environment here is good. I can choose a place to rebuild my bone sword mountain. Gu Qingyu said coldly. Ha ha ha, the star formation naturally needs you. I am not strong enough to build it now. Yi Qinghan laughed. It would be best if Gu Qingyu stayed. With the Kuei cow as a natural barrier, anyone who wanted to destroy the Alfal star would have to think carefully. However, there would always be lunatics. If they went crazy, the entire Alfal star would be finished. It was necessary to build the star formation. One's life was in one's own hands. The ceremony lasted for a day. When everyone was about to leave, another large cloud-piercing ship appeared and hung above the Alfal star. Its power suppressed the great path of the heavens. More than 10 experts flew out of the cloud-piercing ship. Half of them were young people. All the young experts of the previous generation of the Stand Star had gathered. There were also a few Dao masters of the older generation. They looked down at the Alfal star and found Stan Chenquang, Stan Bahu, and the others hanging under a mountain in front of the crazy sect. They could not help but be furious. You are courting death. How dare you humiliate the Stan bloodline? Have you eaten a leopard's gall? The elder of the Stan bloodline, Stan Tao, was burning with anger. He led the crowd to the top of the crazy sect. Middle-level Dao master. As soon as the momentum was released, it shocked the 9 heavens. Yi Kongcheng, Xianyuan Chenxiao, and the others turned pale. They could not help but look at Yi Qinghan and Gu Qingyu. Surround them and kill them. Leave no one alive. Swish. The people of the Stand Star formed a big array and surrounded the crazy sect tightly. No one could get out. Yi Qinghan shook, and the god-slaying eagle supported him. The wings that covered the sky roared, and the demon dragon saber appeared in his hand. He shouted at the 3 experts. You are now the people of the crazy sect, not the slaves of the Stand Star. Today show your courage. Whoever dares to betray the Alfal star will die. Buzz Zongdi chanted, and a murderous aura spread. It was like a golden spear, and an armored horse galloping. It was vigorous and exciting. It made everyone's blood boil, and wanted to go to the battlefield to kill the enemy. Fight! Lu Guyan was a general after all. How could he be afraid of death? His armor fluttered, and a golden war spear appeared in his hand. It was as if he had returned to the past, when he led countless Lu family members to conquer the vast country. Countless corpses and bones and blood stained the battlefield. Yi Kongqing and Xianyuan Chenxiao had an inexplicable confidence in Yi Qinghan. They felt that today's matter would not be a one-sided defeat. They immediately rushed up. Gu Qingyu's fingertips trembled, and a sharp sword appeared in his hand. His fingertips flicked the sword's edge, and it let out a dragon's sword cry. A strand of sky-splitting sword chi rushed into the sky. Since you want to fight, count me in. I also want to see if the Stand Star is really that powerful. Swish! Gu Qingyu's silhouette flickered, and he appeared beside Yi Qinghan. He looked down at Stantar with a mocking smile. The experts of the Stan family were frightened by Gu Qingyu's gaze. They flew backward frantically, and their eyes were full of horror. You are Gu Qingyu of the Bone Sword Peak. Stantar shouted in horror. It seems like my reputation is still quite great, able to be recognized even on this small planet. Gu Qingyu shrugged. He hugged his sword and stood there, turning into a heaven-shaking divine sword that towered between heaven and earth. Senior, we didn't know you were here. Please forgive us for offending you. Stantar bowed and said. He did not dare to offend Gu Qingyu. Few young experts of the Stand Star knew Gu Qingyu. After all, when Gu Qingyu was young, They were still in swaddling clothes. When Gu Qingyu retired from the Bone Sword Peak, they officially started. Many families acted as if they did not know about the battle 8 years ago. They also allowed their disciples to discuss among themselves. Therefore, even the top 10 young experts of the Stand Star did not know Gu Qingyu. The top 3 young experts of the Stand Star had already entered the realm of Tao Master. They looked down on all living things. They were full of the aura of a king. They were confident that they were invincible under the great martial venerable. Seeing Gu Qingyu so young, they were not afraid at all. Stan Xiaohou, ranked second, had unparalleled fighting strength and pure bloodline. He was deeply loved by the Star Lord and received the true inheritance of the Star Lord. At this moment, he looked at Gu Qingyu arrogantly and said disdainfully, "Gu Qingyu? Who is that? A nobody dares to go against the Stand Star." Stantar was shocked. This reckless junior dared to talk to Gu Qingyu like this. Even if the Star Lord came, he would have to respectfully call him Brother Gu. Shut up. This is Senior Gu Qingyu, one of the 3 supreme battle kings of the Xiaolong region. He is on the same level as the Star Lord. How can he allow a junior like you to talk nonsense? Why don't you apologize to the senior? Stantar angrily rebuked. Sixth uncle, when did the Stan family fall to the point of apologizing to others? What supreme battle king? I have never heard of it. Is the supreme battle king of the older generation like him? Stan Xiaohou said disdainfully. Stantar's face was pale, and his body trembled with anger. He looked at the young experts of the Stan family, and found that they were all eager to fight. His heart turned cold. Supreme Battle King? No one has occupied this title for hundreds of years. Your cultivation is only at the realm of Tao Master. What qualifications do you have to be titled Supreme Battle King? I, Stan Zhengquang, would like to see it. Please enlighten me. A hoarse voice was full of dominance. The supreme bloodline shrouded the Milky Way and almost penetrated the universe. The tyrannical fighting spirit and unparalleled fighting strength appeared. It was not a provocative challenge, but the disdain in the tone was self-evident. Chapter 157. Please enlighten me, Battle King. His words were full of disdain and battle intent, and he stood proudly. Stan Star's #1 expert of the younger generation, Stan Zhengquang, floated out. He was 189 meters tall, but he didn't look boorish. Instead, he looked vigorous. His black clothes fluttered, and his black hair fluttered. He could definitely be counted as the strongest of the younger generation of Xiaolong region. However, he could only be counted as the strongest of the younger generation. He had provoked the wrong person, because Gu Qingyu was one of the 3 most terrifying people of the older generation. Among those 3, Yi Qinghan was reborn, and Situ Qingjun was in the ancient battlefield. In terms of one-on-one combat, other than Xiaolong region's domain master, no one dared to say that they could last more than 1,000 moves. Ha ha ha, the younger generation of Stan Star is really interesting. You dare to talk to me like this? Does StanCon know? Gu Qingyu looked down at the people of Stan Star and revealed a strange smile. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. He didn't expect that Gu Qingyu had only been silent for 200 years, and the younger generation of the major families didn't know him. Impudent. You dare to call my Star Lord's name directly. I gave you face, but you don't want it. Do you really think you're a supreme battle king? Gu Qingyu? I have never heard of him before. Stan Zhengquang was furious. His aura erupted, and he used the berserk technique. His bloodline erupted, and a terrifying pressure soared into the galaxy. Never heard of him. Don't worry, I'll let you see. Gu Qingyu sneered. He transformed into a divine sword and disappeared without a trace. He raised his hand and swung it over. The sky was filled with palm shadows, and it broke through the void. Its speed was so fast that it was impossible to dodge. Stan Zhengquang was shocked. His blood boiled, and the sharp sword in his hand shattered time and space. It surrounded his body tightly. Pa, 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 pa. More than 10 consecutive slaps resounded through the sky, and blood splashed everywhere. Stan Zhengquang felt dizzy and was unable to resist Gu Qingyu. No matter how powerful he was, standing in front of Gu Qingyu was like facing a Star Lord. No, it was even more terrifying than facing Stan Khan. He had no power to resist at all. Gu Qingyu raised 2 fingers on his left hand and directly clamped Stan Zhongquang's sword. No matter how hard Stan Zhongquang tried, he couldn't escape from Gu Qingyu's restraint. Gu Qingyu's right hand was constantly waving, slapping Stan Zhongquang's face fiercely. Pa! Pa! After another dozen slaps, Stan Zhongquang was stunned. He didn't know how to let go of the sword in his hand. He even wanted to draw his sword and escape, so he was continuously slapped until he didn't know what to do. You have never heard of my name. Do you remember it now? Gu Qingyu's sharp gaze was like a sword pressing against Stan Zhongquang's forehead, making him break out in cold sweat like a heavy downpour. The Stan clan members held their breaths and held their weapons, not daring to draw them. Stan Tao was even more terrified. There's no need for that. He challenged me to a duel and asked for my guidance. As his senior, I naturally have to give him some guidance. Senior. Stan Jun swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His face was swollen and deformed from the slap. He no longer looked as handsome as before. Which one do you want me to teach you? Pa, 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 pa. But let me warn you, if I use my sword, people will die. Gu Qingyu faintly said. Pa. Gu Qingyu was calm when he was still, but when he moved, the sky fell and the earth cracked. The sword chi around his body was fierce, and his gaze could penetrate people's hearts. This made Tan Zhongquang break out in cold sweat. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva, not knowing what to do. Senior, please show mercy. I will take this group of ignorant children away from here. In the future, Stan's bloodline will never step foot on Alfal Star. Stantar was shocked. He knew that Gu Qingyu was merciless. Not to mention Stan Zhongquang. Even he wouldn't be able to take a single blow. Asking Gu Qingyu to teach him a lesson was akin to asking for death. Only then did Stan Zhongquang realize that Gu Qingyu was really a supreme battle king of the older generation, not a member of the younger generation. Instantly, he stopped being arrogant and bowed. Junior knows his mistake. Pa, pa, pa. Gu Qingyu was disdainful. He coldly looked at Stan and said overbearingly, "Tell Stan Khan to come and see me. If he doesn't come, I'll go to Stan Star." The Star Master of a Star was being ordered around by him in such a threatening tone. The people of the Stan Star did not dare to say anything. Stan Tao shivered and personally went to the cloud-piercing ship. Through the long-distance sound transmission system, he reported everything that had happened here without hiding anything. On the Stan Star, there was a majestic ancient city. It was majestic and magnificent, emitting the patterns of the great Tao. The aura of the profound meaning was full. The star formation could withstand the joint attack of a great revered martial artist for 10 years without falling. At this moment, a burly man who seemed to be in his 40s woke up from his cultivation. He had a strong aura of a ruler. When he saw the communication talisman at his waist shining with a golden light, he frowned. When he probed with his spiritual sense, he was shocked. Gu Qingyu? Pa, 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 pa. Damn it. This group of reckless juniors actually dared to provoke him. This is infuriating. Whoosh. Ha ha ha, Brother Gu. You should inform me that you're coming to the Stan subsidiary Star Zone, so that I can prepare a good reception. Stan Khan had not arrived, but his voice had arrived. He had taken the initiative to express goodwill. Where was the domineering aura of Stan Star Lord? Fortunately, I didn't visit the Stan Star. Otherwise, wouldn't I have been beaten out of the Stan Star by the younger generation? Gu Qingyu said with disdain, not giving the slightest face. Stan Khan instantly broke through the void and descended on the sky of Alfal Star, like an ordinary middle-aged man. He did not dare to emit the slightest bit of arrogant aura. It doesn't matter if they don't understand. What's important is that you understand. I've taken a fancy to this Alfal Star. I'm planning to make it a place for me to retire. Gu Qingyu said indifferently. What's mine is yours. It's Alfal's blessing that you've taken a fancy to it. From today onwards, Alfal belongs to you. You're the Star Master. You and Stan Star are brothers. There's no difference between big and small, Stan Khan said solemnly. Pa, pa, pa. The corner of Gu Qingyu's mouth rose, and his face was full of disdain. He knew that Stan Khan wasn't so easy to talk to. He was just afraid of his strength. If it was someone else who dared to say this to him, they would have already fought. In this life, Khan Stan had lost twice. The first time was to Yi Qinghan, and the second time was to Gu Qingyu. Khan Stan was only afraid of these two people. If the Star Lords of other stars came to ask for Owl Falling Star today, he would have already punched them. Khan Stanner said righteously and loudly. Stanner, immediately go back and prepare 100 million low-grade, 10 million middle-grade, and 3,000 high-grade spirit crystals, spirit herbs and spirit herbs. Also, bring some good secret techniques to support my brother's great cause of establishing a sect. Pa. I like it. Pa. Only then did Khan Stan notice Yi Qinghan and the parrot on his shoulder. The light in his eyes shrank, his body trembled slightly, and he took a step back. His face instantly turned pale, and his eyes were filled with horror. You are. Khan Stan shuddered, and was at a loss for words. Pa. So it's fellow Taoist who wants to establish a sect. Well said, I fully support it. Khan Stan's heart was in a mess. His palms were sweaty as he cried out in his heart. This is impossible. How can his aura be so similar to his? How do you intend to support us? Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and asked. Khan Stan's heart shrank as he confirmed Yi Qinghan's identity. He thought to himself, it's really him. How lucky was he? If Emperor Shun Yi were to know about this, I'm afraid the entire Xiaolong region would be implicated. I've decided to use 30% of Stan Star's resources to help you build your sect. Khan Stan said in a deep voice. What? Is the Star Master crazy? Stantar was shocked. He wanted to stop Yi Qinghan, but he was shocked by Khan Stantar's cold gaze. He was puzzled. He did not understand why Yi Qinghan had completely changed the Star Master's plan the moment he spoke. Many of the Stan Star's geniuses were unwilling. 30% of the resources was already enough to affect them. This meant that their resources would be reduced by 30%. No one could bear it. Nor was he willing to accept it. 30% of the resources. Brother C10 is really willing to part with it, making me feel fear and trepidation. Yi Qinghan already knew that Khan Stan had recognized him, but he did not expect this guy to be willing to use 30% of the resources to help him build his sect. Ha, it's really you. I thought I recognized the wrong person. Shall we go to Stan Star to catch up? Khan Stan laughed and said immediately. Let's go to Xiaoyan Star, Yi Qinghan said faintly. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect the real protagonist to be this Grotto Heaven Realm youth. Not Gu Qingyu, nor the Star Master of a large star Khan Stan. Who is this person? Why is the Star Master so respectful? He is willing to give up 30% of the resources to support him in building his sect. Everyone was shocked and could not calm down for a long time. Chapter 158. On Alfal Star, the sky was clear and white. The vast sky could be clearly seen. Khan Stan and Gu Qingyu walked side by side with Yi Qinghan and descended on Lulan. Everyone's body trembled slightly as they looked at Yi Qinghan's back in disbelief. They felt that their worldview had been overturned today. Their outlook on life and values had changed. Since when could a rookie in the Tao Insight realm stand side by side with a great martial venerable in the Tao Master realm? Since when did a great martial venerable begin to curry favor with someone in the Tao Insight realm? At this moment, Yi Qinghan, Yi Kongqing, Xianyuan Chunshao, and the others truly submitted to Yi Qinghan. Even the Star Lord of Stan Star was respectful to him. Was there anything he couldn't do? In the crazy sect, Stan Khan looked at the luxurious arrangement and didn't have much comment. Instead, he felt that Yi Qinghan was indeed poor, so he put so many spiritual crystals. If it was in the Yi family's mansion on Al Fighting Star, the spiritual crystals would be piled up like a mountain. The heaven-shaking spirit-gathering formation would be enough to devour the spiritual energy at the end of the Xing River and absorb countless luck to support the Yi family. That would be a real big deal. If it weren't for the betrayal of the family, the Yi family would definitely be promoted to level 6. Brother Yi, Can you let the real genius of the Stan clan join the crazy sect? Stan Khan asked seriously. Stan Zhengquang. Yi Qinghan frowned. Stan Zhengquang's talent was level 4. But in his opinion, he was still lacking a little, and was not suitable to join the inner sect. No. My Stan clan has a child with the bloodline of the ancient era. The golden bloodline. He's only 8 years old this year, and is completely a piece of unpolished jade. I don't dare to let him out, nor do I dare to cultivate him indiscriminately. I'm afraid that I'll cultivate him into a monster, and waste this good seedling. If I can give him to you to cultivate, I believe that he will be able to restore the ancient glory of the Stan clan. Stan Khan shielded the surroundings, so that only the 3 of them could hear him. Yi Qinghan and Gu Qingyu's bodies shook at the same time. An ray of light shot out of their eyes. Golden bloodline. On the day of birth his blood was golden. He was a genius with the accumulation of spiritual energy. Once he grew up, his body would be as hard as a weapon. He could tear the stars and trample the Milky Way. He was absolutely unparalleled. You're willing to let me raise him? Yi Qinghan asked with a frown. Of course. He has the strongest bloodline of the Stan clan. I don't dare to say that I can nurture him into an existence as powerful as our ancestor. He can fight against 10,000 races, tear apart evil spirits, and burn down the forbidden lands once his chi and blood are ignited. If I ruin it, not only will I be ashamed to face my ancestors, but I will also be ashamed to face the human race. Stan Khan was excited as he looked up into the void. He thought back to the desolate era, when the Stan golden bloodline ancestor's entire body was like pure gold. His bloodline was pure yang, and could suppress all evil. He fought his way into the vicious spirit forbidden land 3 times, and retreated 3 times while bathed in blood. He tore apart 3 peerless vicious spirits. Just thinking about it made his blood boil. In the entire endless universe, I can only believe in you. You won't covet the origin of the golden bloodline. I beg Brother Yi to accept him and teach him. I will do my best to help you take revenge. Khan Stan bowed respectfully. Yi Qinghan clenched his fist as a glint flashed in his eyes. He thought to himself, if I really take the golden bloodline into the inner sect, Stan Khan will never betray me. Moreover, the golden bloodline is one of the strongest bloodlines in the ancient times. It's one of the best weapons against 10,000 races and vicious spirit forbidden lands. I'm afraid it's not inferior to the Zither Immortal's crimson demon physique. It's definitely worth nurturing. Where is he? Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and low as he asked in a serious tone. In the Stan Star, the Stan bloodline's forbidden land. If Brother Yi agrees, I can bring him here immediately, Khan Stan said excitedly. Bring him here. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice. Khan Stan shattered the void and disappeared from the insane sect. He went straight to the Stan Star, and collected a large number of treasures and spirit crystals. He also brought a child-emitting golden light back to the Alphal Star. The terrifying bloodline pressure suppressed everything. Even Khan Stan's bloodline was suppressed, and his blood flow rapidly slowed down. The golden bloodline was the #1 bloodline of all time, when it came to dealing with the ferocious spirits in the Forbidden Land. No one dared to say that they had an absolute advantage over the ferocious spirits in the Forbidden Land, but the golden bloodline dared. The child's eyes were like the scorching sun, looking down on all living things. Although he had only entered the Grotto Heaven realm through simple cultivation, his combat power was unparalleled. He could also kill those in the Fate Palace realm. Once he was trained by Yi Qinghan, he would definitely be a supreme existence. The appearance of the golden bloodline immediately attracted the interest of Emperor Yi and Yi Mingxi. Fortunately, there were not many people in the inner sect at the moment. Otherwise, it would definitely cause an uproar. In the entire Stan Star, only the child's parents and Khan Stan knew about it. The midwife and other people who knew about the inside story were all suppressed by the iron blood. Now, even Stan Junquang and the others did not know about the existence of this child. What a strong bloodline power! Emperor Yi whispered as his eyebrows trembled. Hee, I can see the golden yang qi flowing in his bloodline. Yi Mingxi stared at the child with great interest and sized him up carefully. She could not wait to pinch his pink and white cheeks. Her chi blood was not suppressed at all. Gu Qingyu flicked the hilt of his sword lightly. His eyes were full of radiance. This is a true genius. A true special bloodline. Xian Wuyu and the others would be instantly defeated, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Brother Stan, what's his name? Stan Wuxia. Wherever the golden bloodline passes, evil will be destroyed. There will be no evil in the world, Stan said excitedly. Stan Wuxia's eyes were like torches as he scanned the crowd. The flames in his eyes could almost burn the ice. Little brother Wuxia, quickly call me big sister. Yi Mingxi reached out her small hand to pinch Stan Wuxia's cheeks. Stan was shocked and quickly shouted, Don't! Boom! Stan Wuxia's majesty was monstrous. He was born as an emperor. How could he allow others to blaspheme him? He clenched his small fist and golden blood surged. It shocked the heavens and the earth. The great Tao of the heavens also shook. Yi Mingxi's chi and blood were normal. She was not affected at all. Her figure flashed as she used the extreme Tao divine dragon steps. She brushed past Stan Wuxia's small hand and pinched his cheeks with all 5 fingers. Then she escaped from the inner sect. Stan Wuxia was enraged. His golden fist pierced through the heavens. His aura tore through the air and rushed toward Renhuang Yi. There was no time for him to stop. Emperor Yi played the guqin with his 5 fingers. The guqin's 9 strings snapped. A wisp of guqin music turned into the sharpest sound blade and pierced through the air to block the fist. His eyes suddenly opened. His black pupils collided with the golden scorching sun god eyes. Qi rushed into the galaxy, and a destructive aura filled the air. Wah! Puff! As someone with the golden bloodline, Stan Wuxia spat out a mouthful of essence blood. His face was pale, and he took a few steps back. He looked at Emperor Ye's eyes in disbelief. The golden light in his eyes suddenly dimmed. He quickly turned his head, and did not dare to look at Emperor Yi. Emperor Ye's body was twisted. His dark eyes were bleeding. His face was as white as paper. However, his young body did not retreat. He stood rooted to the ground. Stan was shocked. The golden bloodline was glorious for eternity. He did not expect to be played by Yi Mingxi in the blink of an eye. He actually lost to Emperor Yi. This. Stan was speechless, and did not know how to speak. Without any guidance, you are already not bad to be able to injure my son. Yi Qinghan shook his head lightly. He did not feel that Emperor Yi winning against Stan Wuxia was something to be proud of. What kind of system does she have? Stan was very puzzled. There were not many who could be compared to the golden bloodline. There were even fewer who could win against it. Have you gone senile? Didn't you see the weapon she used? Yi Qinghan said coldly. Zither immortal crimson demon physique. Stan took a deep breath. Only then did he notice that the birthmark of the divine zither in Emperor Ye's palm was emitting a divine light. It was constantly squirming, as if the host was threatened, and wanted to appear to destroy all the enemies in front of him. What about that little girl just now? Her vital energy and blood were clearly not affected at all. Stan felt like he was going crazy. The golden bloodline was glorious during the primordial era. He could not accept losing 2 matches in a row today. I don't know. I can't see anything special about her constitution. However, I can guarantee that she is definitely not of a mortal body. Yi Qinghan guaranteed. The arrogance of the eccentric sect was indescribable. The golden bloodline was not the strongest here. Stan was more and more convinced that handing Stan Wuxia over to Yi Qinghan for guidance was the best choice. He bowed and said, I'll have to trouble Brother Yi. The glory of my Stan bloodline depends on him. Do your best. Even if you can't prove your Tao, you can at least nurture her to the divine martial realm. Yi Qinghan nodded and said, I seem to have seen the coming of the primordial era. Countless heroes have fallen. Corpses have fallen from the sky. Blood rain poured down. Ferocious spirits roared. The human race in the universe is struggling bitterly. The parrot was rarely serious, as it looked at Stan Wuxia with anticipation. Ahem, Brother Yi, the people around you are not ordinary. Even this bird has a special origin, right? Stan asked with a smile. Without waiting for Yi Qinghan's reply, the parrot said with a smug face, Yes, you have good taste. You deserve to be a Star Lord. I am the divine emperor of beasts, The spirit-devouring divine eagle. Spirit-devouring divine eagle? What kind of species was that? Never heard of it. Not to mention that Constan had never heard of it. Even Yi Qinghan had never heard of such an existence back then. Constan laughed and thought that he was ignorant. He quickly changed the topic and said, "Brother Yi, I have prepared some treasures and spiritual crystals for you. Please accept them as a token of my sincerity." Yi Qinghan accepted them without hesitation. He found that there were a large number of spiritual crystals, upper grade, middle grade, and lower grade in this 5th grade universe ring. There were also a large number of panaceas, which were suitable for any cultivator below the middle level of Tao Master. From weak to strong, they were priceless. Thank you, Taoism peer. These things are what I lack, so I won't stand on ceremony with you, Yi Qinghan said faintly. Everything had been settled. Constan took Stan Wuxia's hand and pointed at Yi Qinghan. He said in a deep voice, "Wuxia, from today on, he will teach you how to practice. He is your master. You can't blaspheme your master's dignity. Do you understand?" The 8-year-old Stan Wuxia looked at Yi Qinghan with the purest eyes. There was no disdain in his eyes, but he was very confused. Yi Qinghan was obviously not as powerful as Constan. Why did he want to worship him as his master instead of being taught by his ancestor? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.